going on, everybody? Rod J back in the house. What is happening? Happy Tuesday. We are 3 days out from Christmas, and I've got a Christmas treat for you guys tonight. Going to actually have in the house Gloria Rakowski of Crafted Minds, LLC. We're going to kick it here with some beer and some details and talk about her experiences in beer and address any questions or comments you guys may have out there. And going to make it a little bit of a fun evening. I'm going to share her website here in a little bit when I get her on as well. But Crafted Minds is actually a concept or business that she actually founded and created here in 2020. Actually, they're having a big kickoff event. I'll let her come in and talk about that, but that'll be coming up here the next week or so. And she's actually been in craft beer for over 10 years, doing some different things, writing, blogging, a brand ambassador, a sales rep, even bartending. So, I got a soft heart for bartending because I used to bartend back in the day. So you know how that goes. And she's actually from up in Syracuse, New York. So I'm going to go ahead and get her in here. And also, she actually just recently completed the first level of Cicero that she did the certified beer server. So she's got that going as well. And if you want to follow her on a blog, we'll share that as well. But it is actually the Happy Nomad blog. So I'm going to go ahead, get her in. So you guys hang tight, and we'll be back in a second. Gloria, what is going on? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hi, Rod. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. It's so great to be here. I've been looking forward to tonight.
Awesome. Well, good. It's great to have you on. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you in the house. So me and Gloria actually connected over on LinkedIn, another social media site, and we actually had a nice conversation going. I didn't start drinking beer yet, and I'm already going crazy. I'm just so excited to have her here. And invited her to come onto the show, which she said she would do. So I'm honored to actually have her here. And for you guys actually watching, just so you're aware, usually we try to hit in all the different comments. But the main focus is here. I want to make sure to cover a lot of stuff with Gloria. So if I skipped your comments, you know why. But if you guys have questions and comments, make sure you put them in there. So that way I can get them brought up for you as well. But so you're actually up in the Syracuse area.
I am.
Yeah. A little cold right now.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's a little slushy out there, but it's par for the course. It's upstate New York.
So you're like in December right now. You're like, I'll go in and take this. I'll take this. So
I will take it. I'll take all the rain.
Yeah, I'm actually. We were talking about earlier. I'm actually in the Cincinnati area, so. Usually it's a lot colder than it is. We're supposed to be in the 50s tomorrow. So I'm happy. I might even grill out tomorrow for my last day of grilling out before it gets too cold. We're supposed to get snow possibly a little bit by Christmas, and the weather's supposed to drop. But I am not all a fan of cold weather. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey. It was definitely colder there from back where I'm here now, but this has now become cold as well. So we have to go more south at some point. I don't know where I'm going to go yet, but I may have to.
Hey, I did it. I did it, and I loved it.
So, in part of your background, we were talking about this earlier. You actually were a university professor.
Yes, I was.
And now you're doing the beer thing. So how did you come across that kind of a change to make that move? I mean, that's, big move.
Yeah, well, it is. It wasn't anything drastic. It was over time. It was gradual. So while I was still in the university system, I was able to travel to Europe, and I was just amazed by all the different beer styles there were out there and flavors. And, I was used to drinking, light lagers and maybe an Irish red or something, and that was about it. So it opened my eyes, and I was like, I want to capture this, and I want to try my hand at writing. So why don't I write a blog and talk about beer and travel? So that was in 2009. And so, I was still working at the university, and I just kind of gradually got out of it by about, let's say, 2014. And I haven't looked back.
And you enjoyed it ever since, I take it too. Mm-hmm. So
oh yeah.
So you created the blog previously, right? Before you did
Yes.
Craft and Wine. So how long were you doing the Happy Nomad blog?
So
I know you're doing it as well. So
yeah. So the Hoppy Nomad started in 2009, and that kind of got me started into beer writing professionally. So I started writing for a local Syracuse newspaper called Table Hopping, and I was the monthly beer writer. And so I did that for actually 6 years. And during that time, I was writing for other places like Cigar Snob Magazine, Beer Advocate Magazine, and my blog as well. And so that just was like, it just was a switch, you know? It's like, oh, I can write. Ooh, and there's a lot to talk about when it comes to beer, you know?
You also got picked up by Vine Pair too. So you were hitting some of the key spots. You were getting noticed. Yeah. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, I did. I kind of fell out of writing for just a little bit. Had a few medical things going on, so I wasn't really up to writing. I didn't quit the Hoppy Nomad. I didn't stop writing. I just wasn't really pitching to outlets and magazines like I had been before. And just recently, very recently, I was like, you know what? I know I'm starting a business, and I know, you know, that this is a rough time, but I still love to write, and it's something that I don't want to let go of. So I decided to revamp the Hoppy Nomad blog and pitch my ideas to people. And Vine Pair did pick up an idea that came out about a month and a half ago, maybe in October. Nice. And and I'm still chugging with the writing. So that's never going to stop.
Yeah. Well, I always again, that's another thing. My background's actually in journalism. So I always got love for people out there doing the writing, putting that stuff down. Because when I first started doing the stuff on my way, I was looking at doing the blog, which I was doing some blog. And I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go video instead? So I know it's like the whole vlogging versus blogging, but to put in the blogging stuff definitely takes, to me, it takes a little bit more than what you're doing on the vlogging, even though you're preparing yourself to go on camera and do all these other things, you know, to put it out there, to get your thoughts down on paper and stuff. So occasionally I still dabble back into it. So I definitely know the trials and tribulations, so to speak, that you go through there.
Oh, definitely.
Make things sound right and build up the story, build up the creativity, and make sure people are interested in all that kind of stuff. So that is pretty awesome as well. So the people were saying greetings, and Dante actually had a question there. I'll let you answer since you actually are certified, you know, beer server now. The difference between malt, you know.
And malt. Oh, wow. Thank you, Mr. Dante. Well, there's 4 ingredients of beer, and that's the hops, the malt, the yeast, and the water. And so malt is a grain, so something like barley, malted barley. And then you've got hops, which is a cone, and that provides the bitterness, aroma, that kind of thing. So they're 2 ingredients of the 4 in beer.
Yeah. So and the hops with the being a preservative, you can add that flavor or that that bitter type effect, depending on when you put it into that boil stuff. But
exactly.
You definitely got to have that malt in there for that nice base underneath of it that you're going to actually bring the sugars out of course.
For sure. It balances it out.
And then we got Dean in the house, says, hey, Gloria, what are you drinking tonight? What's your favorite beer? So they already come with questions.
Yay!
So all you have to fire them out there.
Excellent. I love it. I love this. Can we do this all the time?
Yeah.
Well, I am drinking it's called Minky Boodle. I don't know if you could see that. Whoops, wrong way.
Yeah, let me pull it up there for you.
It is from Thin Man Brewery out of Buffalo, New York. Oh, there we go. And it's a raspberry sour ale, so you can see it's pink. And it's one of my favorites that I discovered in the past year. I really love it. But what's my favorite beer? That's so hard. That's like asking somebody what your favorite movie is or your favorite song. You know, it just depends on the mood, you know, it depends on what I'm feeling. But I would have to say go-tos. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is a classic. So that's definitely a go-to. Gosh, there's so many out there. I really like Edmund Fitzgerald Porter from Great Lakes Brewing Company. That's a really nice one from Ohio. There's so many, but those are
I
there are 2 of my favorites that will always be in my rotation. Always.
I was like, are you reading my wall like the usual suspect? You saw Great Lakes.
I see it. Good
Great
stuff.
movie.
I used to work for them. Yeah. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know you used to work with Great Lakes. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was actually my first job in a brewery or for a brewery. My very first professional craft beer job was being a brand ambassador in the Syracuse area for Great Lakes Brewing Company. So I had to, know the beers inside out. I did beer tastings at grocery stores and, other places, did all kinds of events. And I did that for over 3 years. Yeah, I loved it.
Wow. Yeah, I've met a few of their ambassadors, and they seem to always have a smile on their face and having a great time. So Tremaine says, yeah, that beer looks really good as well. And
it's really good, Tremaine.
Vanessa's a big drink. Vanessa, she's a big fan of Dragon's Milk and the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout.
Okay.
I've heard like her two favorites and stuff that she's stayed stocked up on. But she's also was a university professor too. So
Vanessa, okay.
University work is always interesting.
Excellent. Well, hey Vanessa. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks, Vanessa. We always enjoy Rodney's chats. Thanks.
I can see why.
So before I even said it, she was putting her stouts out there as well.
Yeah, love stouts.
Yeah, speaking of which, I actually just cracked open, and of course, there's many in the series that are out there now, but I ended up cracking open one of the Black is Beautiful beers.
Yes.
And this is actually one from one of our local breweries, Street Side, and of course, it all started with Weather Souls, of course. But this is what they did on their spin, which is a pretty good job. It is a imperial stout with macadamia and coconut coffee.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I had pretty much on a higher level from the ones I think I've had 11 now, and I just picked up one from Harpoon this week.
Nice.
As well. Yeah, so that'll be in the next one I'll end up trying. But they did a really good job with that one. 10% ABV. So these ones can definitely sneak up on you. I had one I did recently, which was really surprising. It was not the as good as I thought it was going to be. One of my friends sent it to me, Todd, who does a Thursday show with me. It was the one from Three Floyds. And of course, Three Floyds has a zombie dust, which they're well known for. Right. And they have, Robert the Bruce. They do all these other good beers. And they put it out as an oatmeal stout. And it tasted nothing like an oatmeal stout. It tasted like a black IPA.
Right.
Or a black pale ale more than anything. So it was kind of weird. Like, I don't know why they went. I mean, it just didn't feel like, they always overhop a lot of their stuff. And you definitely had more of that feel. If they would have said a tropical stout, I'd have been like, okay, like the one I got from Harpoon is a tropical stout, is what they describe. It's like, okay, I can understand you're going to have more of that hop type flavor coming through. So I was kind of disappointed on that one. So that was just kind of interesting because you don't usually see them do things like that. So
right. Well, the effort was made for a good cause. So you purchased a beer that is beyond the drinking aspect of it. It means something. So there's comfort in that.
Yeah, which I did say in the video as well. So it was kind of like, in the end, it's still for a good cause there.
Exactly.
So couldn't complain. Throttle, my buddy Throttle, he's actually in Canada watching. So he's like, is that a beautiful woman talking about beer?
Oh, thank you, Whiskey Throttle. I'm so glad you think so.
That might have been the kindest words I've ever seen Throttle put out here. So
wow.
You're taking the show to another level right now.
I'm blushing.
Yeah. Let me see. And then he'd asked what the ugly beer gossip. No, we're actually doing a show here with Gloria. We're actually talking about Gloria and her background. So she's our special guest, my special guest for tonight. Let me see here. And then we got my buddy Paul. He actually does PA Brew News. He says some of these stouts, they might be a bit thin. So we tease Paul because Paul likes his stouts definitely to be thick. He doesn't like them when they're thin, especially when it says imperial stout. I'm the same way. You don't want it to be really thin when you're getting a big imperial stout like that. but we also tease him too because he wants his like boiling. So we always say like you drink different beers at different levels to enjoy them. So usually a stout you're 50 to 55. Well, Paul put his like around 80 or 85 if he could. So we always tease him about that too. Like he loves them definitely warm. So Paul's a good guy, another beer guy there.
Awesome.
Let me see here. That label looks very art Dekish, right? Nice. Oh yeah, the one with the well, that had to be yours with the Mickey Boodle, right? Because mine was just a standard.
Oh, this one?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's got to be yours there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got little like raspberries on it and flamingos, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tropical.
I always think flamingos. I always think Scarface too. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Too. Oh yeah.
He said fly pelican fly. He's looking at the flamingos. Let me see here. So, in talking about everything you're kind of doing there, so they kind of asked about that. You said sour. So, if there were like 3 top styles of beer you really enjoy, I feel like sour might be one of them. So, what would the other two? The other two probably.
I would say beyond sours, I like just about any beer that's brewed with Brett. I like that funky. Funny, it's funky and funny flavor. Like it's either like you love a Brett beer or you really hate a Brett beer. And I'm on the love side. I'm on the love side of Brett beers. Give me Saison Brett, anything Brett. I'll drink it, and I know I'm going to like it, even if I've never had it, and I always do. I would also say Vienna Lager is actually it's not really a big beer in terms of like notoriety or whatever. It's not like, IPAs are everywhere, but Vienna lagers, I just really love the balance of the maltiness and the hop character. And it's just a nice, delicate, easy drinking beer. It's got a fascinating history. So that I would say those are, just off the top of my head. Like if I don't know what to get, I'll get a Vienna lager if it's there. If there's no sour, I just always go towards a pale ale. Definitely a pale ale. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Vienna lager, nice, crisp, refreshing feel to that as well. And
definitely.
Yeah, you're right about the Brett. Like a lot of times when I have a lot of the Brett, whether it's kind of like the sour or kind of a wild type ale, that funkiness comes out. And it's funny, first start looking at beers, you think of that funky thing. And I'll say like a barnyard animal type thing, something like that. Everything. These are the visions that pop up in your head. And it's just, you learn more and more as you go, but it's really coming from the esters of the yeast and everything. So it's kind of like, but it's funny how that just happens. And some people get turned off by it, but then some people are into it, like you said. So,
I don't know. I mean, it's like, I guess coffee is not for everybody. I didn't start drinking coffee till 2009. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, I didn't like coffee. And then I went to San Juan in 2009 and I just loved the Puerto Rican coffee. And now I've been drinking coffee for 10 plus years just because of that trip. So, it's not for everybody. But, same with Brett. It's not for everybody, but I would definitely say try one at least. Yeah. Just to see.
Is the San Juan coffee pretty strong as a coffee? Because I haven't been down there to have that, but I know like in Miami, we get we'd have the Cuban coffee.
That's strong.
You find out why they give you to in a little cup.
Exactly.
Knock you in your ass real quick.
Totally. Yeah, no, Puerto Rican's not like that. No, I can't do those little shots of Cuban coffee. But no, Puerto Rican's smooth from what I remember. It's a smooth beer. It's a good intro, or not beer, sorry, coffee. It's a nice intro to coffee, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely Puerto Rico's definitely in the spot we wanted to go to. Usually each year we go somewhere, but this year with the COVID thing kind of shot that down and stuff. But last year we were down in Jamaica, and before that over in Cancun, and went to Dominican, and just some great areas over there. Just a different food.
Nice.
I mean, when you get anything off of that, like you come back wondering what you're getting fed here after you go to these other countries, and it's so much fresher, it seems.
Oh, yeah. Night and day.
There's countries, and they got the better food. What's going on?
Totally. Totally. No doubt.
Part of us there, but they still get probably fresher stuff than we do.
Oh, of course. We get all the frozen stuff.
Right. Listen, a very fascinating guest. Thank you, Rob. Well, thank you for being here. You guys all
Thank you,
make
Vanessa.
Say, Corey, have you ever brewed your own beer? Is home brewing a prerequisite for work in the craft beer industry?
Oh, hey, Dean. I haven't. I've been a part of brewing, meaning I've gone to a brewing class and I've, put the hops in or did a little bit here and there. I've done that with 2 breweries. Last year, I was part of a Pink Boots brew with a local brewery in Auburn, New York, by the name of Prison City. And so I was like one of, I don't know, 50 or 60 women that, just got together, named the beer, which I don't remember the name, but we helped decide what hops we were going to use and everything. And I would say that home brewing is definitely not a prerequisite to getting into the beer industry, the beer conversation. I think it's a good experience if you can, hang out for a day with somebody who's a home brewer and see that, the process is long. You got to wait a lot. I didn't realize, in between the different steps, me and my friends were playing like board games because, there's nothing to do. And I didn't know that. So I think it's good to try, definitely. I'm not a home brewer. I don't think that that's really the direction that I'm going in or have been going in, but I'm not opposed to, observing and throwing in some hops here and there. That's about it.
And to the other part of his question, you don't have to homebrew to be able to get into the industry.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, like Rod said, I was a university professor, and I just got into it by volunteering, honestly. Like the way I got to know the local brewing community in Syracuse, I started volunteering. I started volunteering at local brew fests. So I would pour beer or, help with the ice, not that much, but mostly pouring beer. And I got to know the people around me and the distributors. And then after a while, they get to know you. And it's like, oh, you're kind of part of the community, but you're not, So I was like, how can I get in? It's like, well, it's not about wanting to get in, like, oh, choose me. I'm the popular. I want to be popular. But it's more about like just feeling like you're a part of something. And I think that if there ever was any prerequisite, in my opinion, I would say is just to get involved, even if it's starting out volunteering at Brewfest, which there aren't any right now, but when they resume, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, doing that, making connections there is what really gets you more involved. I mean, I made so many connections over time because of volunteering at the different festivals and stuff like that, I'm able to go in and know all these different owners and different people that do our breweries here in Cincinnati, a good amount of them are out there. It's kind of funny just going in and it's funny how sometimes you I don't know if you went through this as well, but you become, I don't say become popular because that was kind of like an ego type thing, but it's like your name starts to grow, but you're not even aware. Like when you go to a place, they're like, oh, you do this or you do that. It's like, how do you know what I do? Like, like, oh, we watch you. Like, really? Like, you're not used to that still. So it's still kind of surprising there. But
definitely.
But the way you just go in and you meet some of these guys. I remember I did a beer festival here for Cincinnati, and we had the Sam Adams booth at the time, and I was doing it with like the manager, and he had his wife there or whatever. And she's like, what do you like do when you're not doing the beer stuff? I was like, I do sales. And she tells her husband, you need to hire this guy. Because I went to their booth at this festival. And, you get a chance to actually, if you're thinking about getting into the beer industry or doing something with the beer industry, it's almost an informal way of interviewing because you're doing stuff in front of you and the people that can see you doing stuff and how you connect can now become your vouchers if you do want to look at applying to that company. So I totally agree with you. Volunteering is a big thing, and you're already making waves in without even trying to by just reaching out yourself and wanting to help out and do stuff.
Definitely. And, and they appreciate the help, they're so grateful because, honestly, I don't want to say the last thing the brewers or the, brewery people want to do is serve. It's not that that's the last thing they want to do, but like Brewfests are kind of like their days off in a way to have a good time and to network and see other, colleagues, they're not the ones that really are always standing behind the tap. So
Right.
I think, they really appreciate the volunteers. And the more the volunteers take the initiative to get to know the beers that they're serving instead of just pouring and saying, oh, here, bye, or can't answer a question. Even if you're a volunteer, if you can answer some basic questions about the beers you're serving, just get on Untapped and look it up if the brewer can't tell you right then and there. But I think it's just, making that effort. And I think a really big mistake people make that I've witnessed firsthand in volunteering is they get drunk. They just get really wasted and, just blow off the whole responsibility thing. And it's like, you can hang out later, just like commit yourself to these 3 hours. Like, it's okay, but some people have different agendas. What can I say?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because like one of the big ones that we have here is the Greater Cincinnati Beer Festival. And so the one that we do in the winter, you have anywhere from 400 to 500 beers out of there between the different breweries that come. So depending on where you're at, you're going to have a lot of beer disposal. Plus you get to walk around and drink. And they actually encourage you to go ahead and do that. But they're like, don't be that guy, don't be that girl that, gets kicked out or whatever for drinking too much. So you have to know your levels and stuff. So at the same point, for some, it becomes kind of this, night out on the town or whatever, when really you're there to volunteer and to do a job as well. And if you can still do that and maintain and still enjoy yourself some, you get looked at better by a lot of the different breweries and stuff as well. And then when you come back to the next one, they're like, oh, I want that guy or I want that girl. And you got all different things happening and you're getting introduced to other people. It's funny. One of the ones we were at, met one of the guys from Deschutes Brewing. He was there with us. He's like, oh yeah, I got a special bottle of Black Butte in the van. If you guys want to come try it, we'll do a quick bottle share. And I thought he was talking to the guy. He's like, oh, come on. Like they invited me to come with. Like, so it's like you make these connections with different people and stuff. And
totally
that goes for you later on. So you always got to keep your wits about you. It's kind of like you don't want to be that person that's too hammered for sure.
No, you don't want, the beer community. I mean, I can't speak to all cities, but the beer communities that I've been a part of in upstate New York and in South Florida, they're relatively small in the sense that everybody knows everybody. Everybody, somebody worked at this brewery and then jumped to that brewery, and it's like a family in a way. So it's like you do something like getting really drunk or doing something silly, you'll be remembered for that. You just will. Good or bad.
Well, you find out not just the beer community, but in other things. My background where I work most of the time is kind of in the financial industry, but the world is big, but the world isn't big as well. Like I've had people that ran into people in other states that knew who I was on stuff. That like, how did so-and-so know that? I've done a lot of different things around, so you just never know. And you want that reputation to be not tarnished as much as possible, right? So
that's not at all, and luckily I had my, I guess, wits about me or whatever. Like I didn't see volunteering as an opportunity for getting drunk for free. I saw volunteering as an opportunity to learn some new skills and meet some new people, and that was it.
Yeah,
that really, it's as simple as that. Yeah,
and then it's kind of like where you're at there, or what I get to do some here is kind of like having fun off of a hobby. You've taken your hobby and made it something else.
Yeah.
Just drive and have fun. And you kind of, it all just, that's the best type of work to do if you can make your hobby your job. So, yeah. I'm not there yet. You're there. I'm not there yet, but I'd love to be there at some point.
Well, you'll get there. It happens. It really does.
Like people ask me, like, my dream job, right? If I could be like Guy Fieri, but just go to brews around the country, go to breweries and just talk about the beer, I would love to do that. That'd be the big play right there. So yeah,
definitely. Hey, but dream it and make it happen.
There you go.
It's all down to you.
And Dina actually asked, could you recommend a Vienna Lager, and if so, like which brands?
Okay. Well, without getting too much into the history, the Vienna Lager, I'll give a little bit of background. It was started in Austria, but it really kind of died out in Austria a long time ago. And so it got a revival in Mexico and Mexican beers. So some of my favorite Vienna lagers are from Mexico, like Negro Modelo. You got the Dos Equis Amber, not the green bottle, but the brown bottle. And then for American styles, your Samuel Adams Boston Lager is a Vienna lager. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, because it's like a go-to beer as well. The Sam Adams, give me Sam Adams. You don't even have to say anything else, And that's a Vienna lager right there. So if you like those flavors, I would totally suggest maybe trying a Negro Modelo and don't put a lime in it.
Yeah.
That is such an American thing. Like, do not put a lime in your beer and put your beer in a glass. That's it.
We just have an American bastardization of it. So used to putting a lime in stuff.
Totally. It's whatever. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But don't do it. Please.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, at least not around me. But I would say those would be the Vienna lagers that I would try. There's plenty more, made by local breweries. Stiegel comes to mind. I've never heard of that.
Yes.
Where is that from?
Yeah, that's Stiegel from overseas. It was I thought it was Stiegel. Maybe it's Stiegel. I don't know. I thought it was STIE, but I might be wrong.
Oh, okay.
But that's actually a good one. Usually when I get that one, that's usually, I think, like he said, good beer, kind of pricey, but solid because it's an import here. I think it's like 25-ounce bottles. Like it's one of those big Magnum type bottles that you can get. But that is actually from, I think it might be from Austria.
Really?
I've had that one. That's really a good one too. Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
I'd love to try that one.
I haven't had that one for probably a couple years, but it was just definitely, that's one of those ones you remember in the back of your mind. Like, okay. And then when somebody has it, like, why haven't I had more of that? I love that beer.
Yeah. Oh, I got to try it now. Does anybody want to send me a bottle? Yeah. I'll send you stuff from upstate New York. It's great
there
stuff.
You go. But there's definitely traders. There's traders that definitely come on here too. So
cool.
You get an email. Don't be surprised.
Email me.
Vanessa said she thought the coffees in Puerto Rico were strong as well.
Really?
She's been all over as well, but it depends on your tolerance probably too. If you're a big coffee drinker, not like I drink all kinds of different coffee. Like when back in the day, when kind of Starbucks took over the world, like 2010 or whatever, when it's everywhere. And I used to go to work, I would get like 5 espresso shots in my, venti coffee. And it was just, that's what I just would do every day. It was just like, give me, because you're large, you get 2. I'm like, give me 3 extra espresso shots. A couple of my friends tried it at work and they were bouncing off the wall, but I was good. So I think it depends on where your tolerance level is.
Yeah.
They named that drink after me at our local Starbucks in our building.
Really?
How we get it? People kind of look over and they're like, "Give them the rod,"
I think I'd be like climbing out of like my skin with that many shots.
Yeah. Wow. I guess it's all on the level where you run at, but yeah.
Exactly. It's all about your own perspective. It's different for you than it is for me.
Yeah, it's like, I'm going to come out. I'm going to tackle a tiger. Let's see here. One time, Puerto Rican coffee was the most desired and imported worldwide. Well, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I did not know that. Thank you, Dante.
Yeah. And then espresso. Oh, the Arizona is actually a good guy. He's from Arizona, but he's from Ohio as well. So he's a big Ohio State.
I.O.
Yeah, he goes, you know it.
I know it.
He'll be happy now that you know the I.O.
I.O. Oh, Brooklyn Lager, that one too.
Brooklyn definitely good beers. Yeah, Brooklyn is always pretty much decent. Here,
I haven't had a bad Brooklyn, honestly.
Yeah. See, Vanessa's do triple espresso, 6 espresso at once. Great for finals week.
Wow, so that's hardcore.
If you can handle it.
Yeah, not me. I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Oh, let's see. Tremaine said, Rod is too humble. You're famous, bro. I'm just a guy here doing what I do. Oh, let me see.
So it seems like you've got some regulars here.
Oh, yeah. We get some definitely. Tremaine also said Stiegel is very good. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend that as well. If you
look it up.
I know on my channel I have, when I did a review on it, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, but one of the videos here is actually on that one. He says, Toronto's making an espresso cocktail right now.
Ooh, you're going to be up all night.
He actually does. He usually is up in the night. So.
Wow. Yeah, I'm usually in bed by 10.
Yeah, Vanessa, your coworker, said her coffee from Puerto Rico. Great stuff.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I like a good, robust, strong coffee for sure. So
yeah, me too. I like the darker roast.
I get big into the coffee stouts now too because that little coffee feel.
Yeah, it's nice.
Just about this one, the macadamia coffee comes through nicely on this beer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah, a lot of people, like one of the people commented earlier this week, they didn't realize that there were different variants of the Black is Beautiful. They thought everybody had the same one everywhere. And so I was like, no, you see more. Make sure you get them and check them out.
Yeah. I have 2 from Syracuse. There were 2 local breweries that made the Black is Beautiful. One is called Willow Rock Brewing Company, and the other one is called Stout Beard Brewing Company. And I have both of them, but I've only tried the Stout Beard version, and it is delicious. I don't know what makes it unique to Stout Beard, but it just was sublime. So
did they just have an imperial stout on theirs, or did they do like an oatmeal? Or
I think they added something to it, but without having it in front of me, I don't remember. It was a while ago, but yeah, I've got some in my fridge that I'm waiting to. I don't know what I'm waiting for actually. Yeah.
I should have it. One of the funny ones I actually had, and I ended up sending it to, I did a beer trade with one of the guys up in Massachusetts. So he's not that far from Sam Adams, right? So Jim Cook is actually from Cincinnati as well. So he put a brewery here in Cincinnati a few years back because he wanted to come back and build something here. So it's funny, they did a Black is Beautiful release here. Or you could buy it through here. So I ended up buying it. So I'll send you one of these because he said he couldn't get it up there. They never offered it up there, but it was the can. It said brewed in Boston. So I don't know if it was there. They shipped it to Cincinnati to release in Cincinnati, or what. He's like, this is funny. Like 15 minutes away from this brewery, and I couldn't get it. But then somebody sent it to me from all these states across the country.
That's weird.
It is weird, but that just shows you how weird the beer world can be. I guess.
Totally, totally weird. I love it.
They did a good job, but occasionally I get questions about the distribution and stuff, and you know how that is with the craziness of who can get what and where it can go. And like I have a friend here that's one of our distributors in Ohio, and he has certain beers he deals with in Kentucky and Ohio, but he only puts certain ones in certain stores and stuff. So we always kind of talk about that as well. So
right, yeah, the 3-tier system. It's that's what it is, really. I mean, I don't claim to know like the ins and outs. I never worked for a distributor, but I've definitely worked with distributors a lot. And it's just, they got their own flow. They got their rhythm going on.
Yeah.
And I just stay out of it, Yeah. Right. Nice to see you.
And so Tremaine said it is Austrian. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So that's right out there too. It's black and silver, I think is the color from the bottle. So there's a little bit of gold in there as well. I think that's kind of what you usually see in the bottle. But speaking of looking up, let me go ahead. I wanted to get your website up here.
Oh, thanks for posting that. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, let me grab that here. All right, so we're going to take a look here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go back here and get the website, make sure I'm set up all properly. So we got the website here, so Crafted Minds, LLC.com, and you can see that on the bottom scrolling across as well for those of you who want to check out the website. And so, looking at this here, you're basically, embodying the concept. You're basically getting people together with beer, teaching them about beer, helping them learn about different things and kind of making that connection. And, where did the brainchild like come from to, you saw the opportunity out there to be able to do this. And then I think you're going to be doing like some training and classes and all that kind of stuff. And
I think one of the reasons or how I got this idea, and I've said this before, and in my website is, I love beer and I love teaching, and why not marry the two? I've got all these years of training as a university professor and all these years of training as a craft beer professional. Why not put them together and help people learn more? But the original idea actually came to me in about 2014. So I was living in Syracuse and I was already working for Great Lakes. So I was definitely in the beer scene. I was, going to all the fests and everything. I got to know people really well. And so one day I was at a local beer bar in Syracuse and I was talking to a friend and I was like, I really love working for beer, but like, I want to meet other women who are like me. I want to meet other ladies who get excited about craft beer like I do. I don't know how to do that. And he was like, well, you should do it. And so I got onto meetup.com, which is like, if you don't know what that is, it's a website that promotes social groups, but depending on the affinity. And so I started the Syracuse Women of Craft Beer.
Nice.
And I started that, and I can talk more about that for sure. But what I really learned from running that group was event planning skills, networking with breweries, striking a deal kind of thing, learning the ins and outs of being an event planner, but specifically in beer, and education. So down the road, it's like, why can't I, I can capture that again, but I don't want it to be exclusive to women. I want to help everybody, I really want to help everybody, anybody who wants to learn more about beer. And there's just so many things around beer that, there's so many subjects. You've got history, you've got chemistry, you've got, personal stories, you've got professional, there's just so much out there that I want to capture a little bit of it and share it with you.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, I knew part of that came from the professor background for sure.
Right, definitely. Yeah.
I knew that definitely played into it. I'm actually sharing some of the different pages here, like the beer courses and stuff that you're doing there for those that want to check it out. I put the links there also in the chat. Vanessa had asked about that, and anybody that wants to go check out there, you can sign up. You can subscribe to see the different things Lori is doing here as well. So you can click that. And we had
so just to let you know where it says blog, where you're at right now, where you just were. So I started the Hoppy Nomad blog in 2009, and that was www.hoppynomad.com. And so what I did was I moved that Hoppy Nomad over to the blog area of Crafted Minds, so that I don't think I really want to manage two complete different websites, because I'm still going to be writing. So anything on the blog is what I write, via Hoppy Nomad persona, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be educational. It's going to be something that you might want to know about, like the one that you've got there, Boxes of Joy. It's about a recent beer and cheese club of the month that sent me some stuff. And so I kind of reviewed it and said, listen, if you're still wondering what to do for the holidays, or even just to treat yourself, like, you should really check out the Beer of the Month Club. So like, there's going to be information and experiences on there, just like I used to write all these years, but it's now going to be living on the Crafted Minds website.
Gotcha. It was funny because I responded when we were talking on LinkedIn, like the Beer of the Month Club. I actually had that a couple years ago. And actually, it stopped because Kentucky, it was after that stupid mail bombing thing that happened down in Texas or whatever. Kentucky stopped taking anything like in packages, like alcohol, stuff like that, and everything like that, which I don't know how they tied it back to that, but I don't try to explain all the government stuff anymore anyway. But anyway, Kentucky's no longer. So I had to finish out the year by having to ship to one of the guys I work with who lives across the river in Ohio because they wouldn't send it.
Okay.
But it's a great program if you can get it. I was actually getting quarterly with the big bottles that were coming in. Breweries you don't usually see. Some great beers that were part of it. So they have that. They got the smaller bottle things you can do, like the Beer and Chiefs, and like you mentioned, there's some good stuff with that program.
Oh, excellent! I was really impressed with it. I had to write about it and share pictures and everything. And if I could, and I'm not saying I won't join, but it's COVID time. It's tenuous right now. I don't know if I can commit to spending the same thing every month right now, but. I told the owner, I'm like, this is awesome stuff. And, hopefully I can join in the future.
Yeah. The one thing you wrote about in your blog that was a nice part that they actually do with the write-ups. They provide to you with the beers and stuff, too.
Yes.
It's not just like sending you the beer, but they give you the nice write-ups on stuff, a little bit of the history.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give you, like, a description of the brewery, where it's from and how it got started. And then they talk about the specific beer you're drinking. So it's really well researched. It's very well curated, high quality stuff. I can't say anything bad about it. It's great.
And speaking of other stuff upcoming, so you got the kickoff happy hour. So that's going to be next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that'll be a chance for people to find out more about Crafted Minds as well. So anything you want to talk about on that, because people can go to the website and also see that there. Obviously, they subscribe and stuff like that. They can be, alerted to it, I'm sure, and everything like that. But because that'll be all virtual. So
yes.
Yeah. So I see these two guys got the Guinness mustaches going. So they're a good time there.
There were two guys I met in DC a long time ago, and I was like, all right, this is the picture. This is the one. Definitely. So about the happy hour kickoff that I'm doing next week, I basically just want to have an informal, like if we were hanging out at a bar kind of thing, like grab a beer, let's talk, what are you drinking, what's going on, and, introduce a little bit more in detail about what it is I'm going to be teaching, because I've been working on the lesson plans, the syllabus and everything. So by the time next week hits, I'll be definitely giving more information about that, because people say, well, what am I going to sign up for? What is it that you're actually teaching? Because I haven't gotten into detail yet, but this is the place where I'll be going into detail about what it is I'm going to be offering. And I'm going to be starting teaching in February. So the month of January, will give people, I think, plenty of time, a little bit of a buffer month between the holidays and then the regular life kind of year. Well, not regular with COVID, but, just give you enough time to just have your downtime, get situated in the new year and learn a new skill and have a good time and say, oh man, it's Tuesday night. It's my beer class. All right. That's what I want. I want to capture the same feeling that I got when I was running the Syracuse Women of Craft Beer. There were women who were like, I look forward to this every month. I can't wait. One girl even said to me, can you do this like once every week? I'm like, well, no, it's only once a month for the model that I was doing. But she just loved it so much. She was like, I always think about it and I tell my friends about it. So I kind of want to just I don't want to say relive it, but I want to let other people experience what it was that I was giving to people and helping people with in 2014. And now with Zoom and, everything online at the moment, you don't have to just be where I am in Syracuse. You can be in San Diego. You can be in Canada. You can be in Belgium or wherever you're from, and I'm recording everything. So if you do live somewhere where it just doesn't make sense for you to be online live because you're sleeping, it'll be there for you. So next week's just going to be, I'll talk about it and let's have some fun and drink some beer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys that are watching, if you're freed up next Tuesday night, I would definitely say to check out the site and see about actually jumping on there as well. I know it's going to be a pretty good time, and I will look to also try to get freed up.
Yeah, please do.
And see about attending there as well. But talking about the Syracuse, I forgot to mention that earlier. I was like, I had all this other stuff in my head. I was like, founded the Syracuse Women of Craft Beer. So go into a little more detail on that, as far as, was it just getting women together that were looking to expand their knowledge? Was it working with people in the industry? Was it just people signing, whoever, come everyone, whoever it may be?
It was basically a come all, come everyone. If you're interested in craft beer, this is what we offer. So the formula for the Syracuse Women of Craft Beer was basically you meet once a month, and I take care of everything. So all you have to do is pay your $10 or $15 or whatever it costs. Nothing was over $20 unless it was the holidays, because we do holiday parties. But you pay, I take care of it all. You show up, and as soon as you show up, you're given a beer or a flight of beer, and you mix, you mingle. And then the brewery owner or managers or whoever gives you a brewery tour and answers your questions. And then sometimes we'd have a theme like cheese and beer pairings, chocolate and beer. We go to hop farms. The great thing about upstate New York is we've got great hop farms. So in July and August, we would go on hop farm tours. We would volunteer at Saranac and pick hops. So that was a really nice experience. So I wanted to make sure that the women were getting, no matter what their level of understanding, that they were getting some sort of hands-on type of education, whether it was actually going to the brewery and seeing it in a different light, or actually going out somewhere like a hop farm half an hour away. Since COVID is taking place, we obviously can't do that, but I think the opportunity lends itself to give people a similar experience, but just not hands-on just yet. And I've already got people who are ready to co-teach with me and be my guests. The fact that I lived in Miami and in Syracuse, and I have a very strong connection to Quebec in Canada. I've got lots of beer people from Quebec and Miami and Syracuse who are ready to co-teach with me and talk to you about any aspect of the beer process.
Nice. Talk about two different areas of the spectrum. Miami, Syracuse.
Totally. It's crazy, but it's my life. It's crazy.
Oh,
it is. I lived in Miami for 10 years, not consecutively, but 8 years, and then moved back to Syracuse, and then 2 years back in Miami, and then moved back to Syracuse. Miami is just, if you haven't visited, or if you haven't visited, it's it's all is what you see on TV, like when CSI Miami was out, or just movies, or everything's glamorous and all that, and it is. That's the thing, is that there's truth in that. But when you live there, it's a different thing. I worked at a place called St. Thomas University for 6 years, and that's a university. I was a higher ed professional. It wasn't like I was teaching Spanish in bikini. It's like you're doing what you're doing that you would do in the Northeast.
Although in Miami, there are classes like that, I bet.
Yeah, but not at the Catholic university I was at. No, not at all. But so Miami is a really interesting place when it comes to the beer scene, because when I first lived there, I lived there from 2000 to 2008. And when I was living there during that time, like I said, I didn't really get into beer until I went to Europe, and that was in 2008. So for the whole time that I was living in Miami, I was drinking mixed drinks. I was drinking the mojitos. That's a big thing in Miami. And, the beers I would get would be the light lagers, the South American or the Dominican Presidente, because it's hot there. That's all you really want to drink. And there really was no beer scene per se during that time, other than two breweries, one in Miami and one in Miami Beach, that I visited. But it wasn't a thing. It was just like, it's a little kind of niche thing, and they're doing all right. But I really wasn't all that interested until I went to Europe. And so moving back to Miami in 2015, it exploded while I was gone. Like in 2011, I think that's kind of the year that things started to really happen and hit. And, went from like 2 breweries, Titanic and the Abbey, to, I mean, off the top of my head, at least 15 to 20. I mean, there's lots of breweries in South Florida now. There's more than 20, I'm sure. I haven't been there in about 2 years. So it's always changing, and it's growing, and it's an exciting place, regardless of the reputation. If you are a craft beer lover, aficionado, or want to know more, go to South Florida. The beer scene is it's just off the hook. It really is.
Well, it's definitely crazy now, but I'm going to say, you saw my piece. Cincinnati, #1 spot for beer drinkers now. I'm just saying.
I saw that today.
2 years in a row.
I would have never thought.
Yeah, I mean, quiet is kept. We have a lot of beers. It is the smart asset that ranks it. Like I kind of give a little bit of a breakdown there. They kind of crunch numbers for a lot of different things, but when you crunch numbers on Cincinnati, the number of breweries we have, which their number of breweries, I don't think they were considering all the breweries that we count as breweries, because we consider Northern Kentucky, Southwest Indiana. We're kind of all in that area. We actually have more around 60 something, almost 70. They had like 32 in there. So really we have more than they actually probably get credit to. They may not looked at like some of the nano or micro breweries that we have here as well. So maybe it was a certain brewery of certain sizes, but you can't go too far without finding beer here. I mean, I have one of my friends up in Michigan that's coming out of Cincinnati asking me some questions earlier today about some places to try to hit. And I say, tell me where you're going, because there's just so many stuff. I mean, I could go and tell you the different stores. We have Jungle Gyms, which is one of the top 5 places to buy beer in the country here. We have another huge place called the Party Source, another place called Party Town, different local shops. We got gas stations that are better than beer stores that people have in their states. That have beer. Yeah. So it's kind of like, where do you want to go to? And that's not even talking to all the different breweries. We have breweries here that have medaled out at the Great American Beer Fest and have been putting up some great stuff. Like Street Side that I'm drinking here, they do some awesome beers. So it's just like, just tell me what part of town you're in. I'll tell you which ones over there you probably want to check out. So people that come here are really surprised, I think, from the different beers they actually see. I did a video going to Jungle Gyms one time, and people were like, I would never leave if I was in that store that big. One of my friends over in the UK, he's like, you could just tell them to lock up and I'll stay here tonight, because I would never leave. It was just that many beers that were there. You could pick from. And then it's like, in Ohio, you can drink while you're shopping and stuff too.
Oh,
so
really?
like, the cars actually have the beer holders and stuff in them. They serve, they'll do it now because of Corona, but they can get tapped there. So it's like, oh, you're shopping now, take a break, grab a beer, you sit down for a bit. They have little restaurants inside, you grab something to eat. I mean, it's just like an all-day experience. It's like the IKEA of beer drinkers. It's like this gym. So, which unfortunately I have to go by tomorrow. I wasn't expecting to buy any more beer this year, but I'm going to be out that way. And it's like, to not go there is like a sin. So if I'm going to be that close, I'll end up going. I never come out with just one thing. I always come out with more than I need, but that's just the life I live. And these guys on the channel I watch, I always share stuff. Jungle Gyms is known for having these crazy deals on some stuff too, because they get so much in, and I usually get a nice deal on some of the beers there, where they're getting rid of stuff and stuff like that. Stuff that are still good, stuff they got like a month ago, but they make room for new beers. Right. So yeah, you come here, it's just like crazy madness on some of the beers you can find.
That's good to know. I didn't know that. And besides working for Great Lakes, I just in general have an Ohio connection, a Cleveland connection. My husband is from Cleveland. Okay. So we go to Ohio a lot. I mean, granted with Corona, we haven't, and we're not going there for Christmas, but I mean, we go to Cleveland. Sometimes we'll go to Toledo. Sometimes we'll go to Columbus, but normally it's Cleveland. But hey, Cincinnati's down the road. I might as well just convince my husband to all right, let's go to, what's it called? Jungle Gyms? Jungle
Gyms, yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and it's an international food market. So understand, it's like they have one section that is just hot sauce that's probably as big as people's bedrooms. Wow. I mean, or bigger. I mean, it's just this 6, 7, 8 rows of just hot sauce that they get from all over the world. They have international food that comes in, international fruit, veggies, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Anything you could possibly want. Like, you get a lot of people coming there from different backgrounds, Middle Eastern or African or Spanish, whatever it may be, because you can find different stuff from international cultures that all under one roof and stuff. And beer. and wine,
Wow.
and great cigars if cigars are there, and then they're connected to a liquor store if you need liquor. So you get everything right there that you could possibly. It's an adult playground. It's an adult playground.
Wow, that is like my mouth is watering right now. Wow, I gotta go there. No, I'm totally serious because I go to Ohio regularly. I will be calling you, sir.
Yeah, it is the place to go to for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we got, like I said, another place we got is the Party Source. Party Source has less beer there, but Party Source has like the biggest liquor. Totally the biggest amount of liquor or wine or whatever under one roof or something. But again, it's another huge place. We have a lot of places around here where you can just get so many different things, which is awesome.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That is really good to know.
It's funny, my buddy Todd's one that sent me to Three Floyds I mentioned earlier. He said Three Floyds was the best, and he puts the face like he wasn't very pleased as much with it either. So yeah, he's like, I want you to taste it first before I tell you what I think of it. So you wouldn't tell me after I'd actually had that there.
Right. Huh.
Let me see here. Check some more of the comments.
Any other comments? I haven't really checked anything. I've been.
Vanessa, it sounds like a great business plan. Teaching is important.
Thank you. I'm all about education. I really am. I mean, if I didn't get, I had a really good education, and not because of privilege, but because of opportunity. It's like taking advantage of the opportunities that you're afforded, that you're given, and making the most of what you can do. Being a first generation college student, I was like in uncharted territory when it comes to my family. So like when it comes to teaching, whether it's Spanish or beer, I just want to elevate you to the level wherever you want to go. Like, yeah, I'm your girl, so I agree. Education is key for anything.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That was one of the more underutilized things we have in the country. So
totally,
education is, I can tell people, like the library is probably the least used resource that's free that people can use to increase their knowledge and opportunities.
I just read Tremaine's. He said, Gloria, you have a good spirit about you. I hope you accomplish your goals. I love beer too.
Oh,
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's really, really nice. I should have been looking at the comments earlier. Thank you, Tremaine. And you want to learn Spanish too, Tremaine? I can help with that.
There you go. Well, it's funny, like, when you do StreamYard, like when you're like kind of sold to, like, you're the producer, the director, the writer, you're trying to do everything. So I'm trying to read the comments as we do everything.
Multitasking. Yeah. Definitely.
I'm not big enough like some of these other places where they have somebody in another room. They're kind of like pulling stuff up. Yeah. Maybe one day I can get there. We'll see. But
you never know.
She made a neat point. The label artwork available is super fascinating. I hope someone starts a museum for that. There is some great label artwork you see on cans. Now, Adweek, they actually just came out with their awards of the year for beer and advertising and stuff, and there were some can labels that won some awards there. But that'd be kind of cool to see a pilot of different beer labels that are out there. But here's a question from the beer labels. Actually, Vanessa, I guess you brought that point, because I had a question there, and we talked about a little bit earlier stuff, like being a woman in the beer industry, anything that you may have seen that might have been negative, and you could tie it all together, however you want to tie it together, anything that you may have seen or learned or ran into.
Yeah.
But beer labels, there's been certain beer labels that have also been offensive.
Beer labels.
So, I mean, not labels, but anything in general. But since you mentioned beer labels, are there things like beer labels or, as you go and you teach about beer, like I said, I have other friends that are women, and someone will come into their place and they'll say, I want to get a beer. What beer do you recommend? Blah, blah, blah. And they'll give them a breakdown. And then I'll ask a guy right next to her working, like, what beer do you recommend? Like, what do you thought I just made this up or something, and anything that you would, anything you come across or anything you've seen, or have you ever wrote a piece or, from knowing people that you've ever thought about writing a piece about stories you've been told about things like that?
Well, let me start off by saying, yes, I've thought a lot about writing about sexism, even so far as to tackle the topic that nobody's talked about yet, which is sexual harassment or maybe I haven't seen the articles. That's just me. But sexism definitely is one of those things that, you see on the labels. And to give you an example, without calling out any breweries at all, I was pouring as a volunteer for a brewery, and one of their beers was, the name was very derogatory towards women. But I was serving it, and so I would be pouring it for the people. And as the night went on, and as the people, and when I say people, I really mean men, when the men got drunker and drunker, they would get more bold and forward with me, because the name of the beer was so provocative that I was pouring, that they would start to attribute it to me, like, "Ooh, do you do that? Oh, da, 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 da." And and here I am, a volunteer, a sober volunteer, and it's like, you can't escape, you can't badmouth, because then nobody's going to want you to volunteer for them anymore. So you're kind of stuck, putting up with it. You know what I mean? It's humiliating, to be honest with you. So, and that also ties in with the labels, because the brewery named the beer a derogatory, words and names attributed to women. So it's like, come on. So and this was in, I want to say 2012, 2013, maybe. So since then, there's been a lot more, I've noticed, awareness and topics in threads and forums that I've been a part of about beer labels. And so I'm very aware of that stuff. I really haven't been vocal about those kinds of things, kind of like race and racism when it comes to beer, or in general. There are some topics that it's not because I'm a scaredy cat. It's just because those kinds of conversations invite negativity to come in. And so, I'm not trying to live a Pollyanna world for myself, but at the same time, do I want to invite into my energy, into my space, all these negative or nasty comments? So I kind of have to strike a balance with myself. And this year was a really transformative year, where I was like, you know what? I've been putting up with, being a Hispanic woman in the beer industry. And I do say putting up, and I mean it. And I never had a chance to really say anything. It was just internal private thoughts. And then I just got the idea to just write about it. And I was going to put it on the Hoppy Nomad blog, but to be honest with you, it's not, I don't have a lot of readership yet. So I was like, I want more people to read this. How can I get more people to read about me being a woman and me being a Mexican-American woman in the craft beer industry? How? And the idea just, I get VinePair emails every day. So let me write VinePair. Let me write the editor. And she was wonderful and said yes. So that's how I got that out. But there's racism, there's sexism, there's sexual assault. Alcohol is involved. Let's get real. Alcohol is involved, and our inhibitions go down when we're at beer festivals or at a bar or a brewery. And it's how we manage ourselves is really what the question or the what we're talking about here. And it's like, can you manage yourself as a male to just put the brakes on? And most men do, but all it takes is one. All it takes is one to really ruin your day, make you upset, or want to quit the industry. And that is very true. Very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some friends that were women that definitely what you're saying there upset us. I've had I don't know if you know Afro Beer Chick, but
yes, I do. I follow her.
Yeah, so we've done stuff on here in the show. We got into some details on my show with her. We did a podcast with her channel and really got deep into some stuff as well. And there's some stuff out there. And well, first, I'm glad you persevered and you kept going and you didn't let that sidetrack you at all. I think that's awesome on those lines, and I'm glad you're finding your voice there as well. And it's something that takes place, and there's certain stuff that I don't always say or do, but people that know me know, and occasionally I'll come back to it. Like I've had some people ask me, why I might not do founders on the channel. Well, there's a reason I don't do founders on the channel, and and people that are in the beer industry kind of know, or people that are in beer know, and there's enough stuff out there that people can research it. Do I always bring it to their attention? No, but if I get asked about it, I'll tell you why I don't really deal with them along those lines. And to the other stuff that I've seen, some of the beer labels that I've called out and stuff over the years or stuff, it gets into that lack of the diversification, right? Again, it gets into that lack of not having those people at the table. It's not like a woman at that table, like to say, what the hell makes you think that would sound any good, any way better than what it looks like here? I mean, there's no one holding them for checks and balances. Some spots. Right. Now, there are some people that do speak up. There are some guys at these tables now that do speak up as well. I think that's kind of giving voice because of things they've had from friends that might have been women or might have been racial or maybe. But there's still that growth, and that's why the Craft Beer Association is doing so much more. The Brew Association doing so much more, trying to get more voices involved and trying to do more things along those lines. At least that's what they're trying to put out there and looking to kind of turn that corner. They brought Dr. Jill, and Dr. Jill's doing some different stuff out there with them. And so it's a matter of just when you have more people, and that's why I always say like that people that don't understand what diversification really means, they just don't get it, don't understand it. But what you're getting is more of a balancing out that's going to actually be successful and grow the industry a lot more, because now you have people say, well, you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way. Or they say you're missing opportunities in these markets because these other people would actually enjoy it too if you were able to share it with them. They just don't ever see the opportunity with it. Right. So it's good hearing your feedback there for what you run into, what you've seen and kind of experienced. Yeah,
it's ongoing, but I really feel like, and I don't know why, but I feel like the year 2020 has been pivotal for our voices, meaning women, people of color, people who have been, I hate to say victimized, but, I think just with all the violence that's been going on, and then, you got COVID and Trump and all this stuff, it's just like a formula for something to be bubbling up and people ready to talk finally. And if you're willing to listen, then you know what? I'm willing to talk now too. As shy as I have been in the past few years about my stance on things, now is not the time.
Yeah. I think this was a year that, and for years I've always said it, nobody's ever really addressing the boiling pot. I think this is the year it actually did boil over. Yeah. And so people were able to address it, and people can come in from different views. At the end of the day, the big thing is, are people having constructive conversations? I think a good amount of people are. I think there's some that are just so dug into their hole they're not, and I think they're missing the opportunity. But the good thing is I see more people that are having the constructive conversations and moving things forward. So that's what's helping out, I think, moving everything. And like I said, in the craft beer world, you're seeing stuff. You're getting other breweries calling out other breweries when they're doing things. You got other people in some of the companies calling out people and stuff. I mentioned, on my part, just with the whole founders, when the diversity chief called them out and everything like that, it kind of exposed with the stuff there. That opened up a new thing that, so it's just a lot of, in a way, it's like things get uglier before they get better, right? So you got it. That's what you had to go through this year, I think. I think that was the ripping off of the Band-Aid. Actually, we're going into the wound to try to address where the bleed is coming from rather than trying to cover it up again. So
totally.
I think it was like a year that we actually kind of needed, although 2020 did suck. I think everybody would agree.
But it was necessary. I think 2020 was totally necessary for us to wake up. I think part of the reason, and I can only speak for myself, I'm not assuming this on anybody, but I think part of the reason why I guess I chose to be quiet about lots of things was because it's a small industry. It's like I was saying earlier, like if you're a volunteer and you get drunk, everybody's going to know. Everybody's going to be like, oh, that person is a drunk. They drink all the time. Don't let them work for you. So the same thing is like when you're building your reputation as a beer professional, and especially when I was representing breweries, I was representing a few breweries in my career. Like, you don't want to be the one that talks out. You know what I mean? You just want to be the one who's smiling and answering your questions and making you feel good, because, that's what beer is all about. At the end of the day is it's a feel good vibe. So who wants to hear, my crap about, being sexually harassed or being a Mexican American? Who cares? That's where my mind went. It's like, nobody cares. But then I just started realizing, lately it's like, actually people do care.
Who cares is that person that was in a spot like you that you didn't know about, that actually gained strength from you actually speaking out about it and realizing how they can actually overcome it too. So,
right.
People never. It's funny. It's like one of the things I used to say is like people never know how many people they actually touch, because by the time you do, you're probably dead because they're all at your funeral. But you touch a lot of people that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
And so those little things, again, it's a matter of when you might want to say something where it's a small thing versus a big thing. But, you just never know how you might help other people. And to the other point, I would say, and, if this ever happened when I was around, that I always said, I'd be one that would speak out against them too. It's like guys that are in a bar letting these other guys do that kind of stuff. They need to step up and get their friends in check as well. And the company owners, when they see that happening to their employees, they need to step up and get that person in check and get them out of their bar or whatever they do. So it shouldn't fall onto you having to deal with something like that. There should be other stuff out there handling it along those lines.
I agree. And, and as an employee, whether it's a brewery or a university, if you're in a position where you have a superior, my experience has been that when something bad happens to you or something uneasy, your boss is the one who represents you and kind of takes care of it for you in a way. Because that's been my experience in different jobs where it's like, okay, I'm your boss, I'm representing you, I've got your back. But when like you're working in an environment that it's so individualistic in a way, which lends itself to creativity, which I love. But the downside is that, nobody's going to speak up for you. Even though your boss could be the brewmaster, and I'm not knocking brewmasters down at all, but they may or may not have experience dealing with human resource issues and those kind of, if an employee dealing with sexual harassment or racism, they may not just from their life experience not know how to handle it. So then what do you do? So it's I think Vanessa had said something somewhere. It's a catch-22. I think that's what she was talking about. But it's you got to navigate your way around and find your place. And I think that's all we're trying to do. All of us is just the common good. The common goal is to really enjoy what it is we're consuming. Have pride in it. Have pride in educating others about just the many facets of beer, and at the end of the day, just have a good time, right?
That's it. That's what it's all about, having a good time. And it's beer. You should have fun around beer, but it's kind of funny. You said, that's the catch-22 thing. I forgot I was gonna say there, slipped my mind. Shoot, it was funny. I was reading a comment from Didi as well. That kind of caught my eye too, but. So Didi's one of my friends out there. He's down in Carolina, and he said, "What's up, Rod? So you're my only client. Didi knows I get these Rod J deals, so he's telling people trying to get a deal, so he puts that out there, and he's just funny, and he's always surprised when I get these deals. So he comments on a lot of the videos. And this last video I did, I didn't get a deal on something, and he's like, "What? Let me find out. Call my number. I'll go back and make sure we get you the deal," type thing. That's why he puts the $1.99.
Okay.
But those that know about the deals know about the deals. And Merry Christmas to you, Rob, as well. But yeah, it's a situation that's just stupid that it shouldn't even be there with all that stuff happening. And again, it's just like you said, it's about the beer. We should have fun. Oh no, I was going to say one of the things I always tell people too is like, you really, when these situations pop up, I kind of remind them when I put them in the videos or something along those lines. If it wasn't for women, you wouldn't even have beer because women were the first brewers.
That's right.
Which is also funny how women run into what they run into, because really there should be more women in brewing than men when you think about the origination of brewing and where it came from and who was actually doing it. Somehow the women got ran out of it. They actually created really, or as far as back what we think, they may have actually been the ones to actually create something there. So that's always kind of the funny irony about that kind of stuff. When guys seem surprised when a woman gives them a beer answer, it's like, dude, like women created beer,
Exactly.
They know just as much, if not more, maybe than you actually think you do. So yeah.
Exactly. I think it's time to just, listen, you know what I mean? Listen to a woman once in a while, come on, you know, please just
I
listen.
mean, I know sometimes I struggle with it myself, and I come down. I have to realize, yeah, it's we all learn from each other. So it's
Yes,
just
we all
it's
make
funny.
mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
like if there's an
agree.
industry. Oh, she loaded your site there in the browser. She's going to read after
Oh,
this.
thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, and please reach out to me, subscribe, or you can contact me directly. It's there. There's on the website it'll say contact us. That goes to me.
Yeah,
Oh, thanks, Tremaine. Great
great
idea.
idea as well.
Yeah.
Let me see. Eric's in the house. He's actually one of friends in Canada. I'll be nice about Quebec tonight. So
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for Montreal. I admit it. I live so close to the border, and ever since the border closed due to this, pandemic, I've been like crying all the time. All my Canadian friends, I'm just like, I miss you. I want to go back to Montreal. I'm dying to go back to Montreal. They all know this. So
yeah,
I'm sorry. What's his name? Eric? I'm sorry. I love Quebec, and I love Toronto as well, and Niagara Falls. But yeah, I love Quebec.
Eric's a good guy. He does a lot of beer and whiskey. So he's a whiskey
Ooh.
fan and a beer fan. And one of the things I'll tell you that you might want to look at joining is on Facebook, since you're on there. I actually have the Beer Coalition there, which is like different people in the industry and outside the industry, beer fans, all that kind of stuff. So it's a great place to share a lot of the stuff and get you some exposure and meet some other people there. So like Eric, he's like one of the members over there as well. He shares a lot of stuff there, but
all right.
Feel free. We can talk about that at a point as well if you want to.
Definitely. Well, I just noticed Malted in Montreal says Montreal is the best city in the world. And you know what? I kind of agree. It's my favorite city in the absolute whole world. I lived in Manhattan. I've lived in Mexico City, and I love those cities. Don't get me wrong. I love Mexico City, and I love New York City. But Montreal has my heart. It just does. I just love it.
Well, that's our friend Swami. So now his head is like, so.
Swami. Yeah. Well, if you're in Montreal, when I can cross the border, we got to have a beer. That's it. That's it.
He does get over here to the States once in a while. Last year he did a bike ride on Route 66 and stuff. So yeah.
Toronto sucks. Okay, that's a Canadian thing that I'm going to let you guys work out on your own up north. I'm not saying anything.
Tremaine, he says Rob will sign up to the Spanish classes. But Tremaine don't know. I took 2 years of Spanish back in the day. I don't remember it all. I can still read some of it, but I can't. At the time I took it, I didn't really have a lot of Spanish friends around as much, which is funny because I lived in New Jersey when I was in South Jersey, and we had a pretty good Puerto Rican population there. In fact, like my neighbor growing up was Puerto Rican, but they never talked Spanish. They were always talking English. And so I never got to use it. And so I kind of lost. I took 2 years of French as well. If you don't have people around you, you don't get to use it as much. I can still read stuff. I can understand some words when they come out, but when you start taking a dialect of someone and they're really going at it, it's like, you lost me.
It's Greek. Well, I hear you. I took French in college, and I was almost going to go to France for a study abroad. It was either between I think Spain and France, and I ended up doing neither of them. But it's weird how much the brain retains memories. Like I had a song in my head and it just totally popped up and I remembered the words the other day. And I'm like, I haven't heard this song since I was a kid. So it's kind of like languages like that. Like, even though it's a use it or lose it kind of thing, you would be very surprised, Rod, that have a few beers and your Spanish will come out. Just like my French comes out when I'm drinking, but it's not great.
It's funny. One time, it was either last year or the year before, I was on one of Swami's channel, Malted in Montreal, and he was reading something in Canada. He held it up, and I said, "Well, that says," and I was reading. It was in French, but I was reading what it was in English. He's like, French? Like, I know parts of it still. I don't know it all. I don't remember it all. But yeah, I had French for a few years. So it was kind of like I do know parts of it when I see it down there. I can make my way through kind of a sentence to get the gist of it. I'd have to go rebrush up my skills a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think it's all about visiting a place too, or being in a community. like if you lived in, I don't know about now, but like, let's say Adams Morgan in Washington, D.C., where I used to live, it was like primarily Salvadoran. So no matter like where you were from, all you heard was Spanish, and you could really learn something, you know, because you hear it all the time, just going to the grocery store or whatever. But yeah, if you're not around it, the only thing that's going to make that Spanish come out right is a little bit of tequila.
Well, that'll work too. But whenever you have tequila has to be the first in. Don't bring it in on the back end after you've had vodka.
No.
Because then it's just like, that's the part. He's the party crasher at that point.
Yeah, no.
Furniture gets broken if you bring him in after everybody else has been in the party.
Oh, yeah. Tequila does destroy.
So I just cracked this one open. I don't know if you've seen this or not. This is from DeClaw Brewing out of Baltimore. It's their patriarchy. It's a series they do, but this is the Candy Cane Imperial Stout. So this one, actually 8.5%, so a little bit lower of an Imperial than what I had first time. But it is almost like candy cane in a glass. I mean, it's got that nice sour of it. Yeah.
Right. Well, I should have brought a second beer. I didn't realize this is my first experience that I have with you, and
if you want to get a second beer, you can get a second beer. So.
I will. It's all right. I'm having a great time talking to you, so I don't want to like leave.
All right. Keep that vibe rolling.
Yeah, baby.
Well, I know Dean said, Gloria, how's the beer in Puerto Rico? I know you mentioned the ones you like there, but how do they compared to here as far as?
Well, when I was there in 2009, I went to San Juan for a work trip when I was working at Syracuse University. And I took my mom, actually. I was like, hey, Ma, you want to go to Puerto Rico with me? My hotel's paid for. All you got to do is like, you know, pay for your airfare. And she's like, okay.
The mom's already.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, we're gonna have beer and we're gonna go to the Bacardi, you know, museum or whatever.
Yeah.
So we ended up walking. We were in the old San Juan, and I found a brewery. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like a restaurant brewery, and I did like a flight of 4 beers, and it was so long ago. I honestly don't remember like if they were good, if they were light, if they were this, if they were that. So I don't want to say, but what I do know is that, you know, it exists. There was a brewery, a local brewery there, and that was like 11 years ago or 12 years ago, whatever. So who knows what it's like now. The only other Puerto Rican beer that I've had, which you can find in some markets, is called medalla, which means medal. And I would say that's kind of like, you know, like if you get like the light lagers of any country, like you do a Presidente or you do a Ching Chow or, you know, whatever, Sapporo. It, you know, it wasn't anything that I would say was wonderful. But if I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm going to have a medalla. You know, I'm not going to order a Corona.
That's what Dante hit on as well, is that the Puerto Rican beer is medalla. Yeah,
he must be Puerto Rican. Or not.
I mean, it was kind of like when I went to Jamaica, it was like, you do, it was like Red Stripes, like their beer, but it's like any other beer. It's like, no, it was all Red Stripe. I mean, I think a lot more of the mixed drinks or just some shots of whiskey or something like that, but it was all Red Stripe for the most part. Then you got to the airport, you had like other stuff that they had there, but it was kind of like, I can't just drink Red Stripe the whole time. But I'll have it here. And on the beach in the heat in summer, it felt right. You know, you had that with a little church chicken, you were good to go.
Well, that's the thing about the Caribbean, you know, they're gonna tend to lean towards those light lagers because it's just so damn hot there. You know, you're not gonna want to have like an imperial stout on the beaches of Acapulco, let's say. You know, it's just not that you can't, but like, why would you? Like, I wouldn't. You know,
well, I'm glad Dante hit on that point as well too, that we actually covered as well. So.
Oh, about feeling as a Latina woman in the beer industry, Yeah.
That was good fun. Yeah, Vanessa was talking about indeed sex in the gun industry is also pretty rampant. But she collects a lot of different guns and stuff as well.
Okay.
And the information you're telling us is important. It is. It's like you said, because some people haven't heard it, and it could be the difference on how they feel about it or how they move about it, what they do, right? You never know who might be listening or might get that point that, you know, you can look at it this way or you could take it and flip it this way. and then move to where you want to be at in the situation. So knowledge
Right.
is power, right? We all know that knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And you know what? The thing is, like, I'm speaking for myself only, but I would have a feeling that others can relate. We have these private thoughts. We have these things that are in our lives that, like, sometimes we don't even, like, you notice what's going on, but you don't verbalize it, or unless you write in a diary every day, you're not going to necessarily, process certain things when it comes to, like, racism or sexism or any ism, but all it takes is maybe hearing one person or catching that one New York Times article and seeing that you're not alone, that you're not alone. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's great.
Well, you hear the stories of people that tell these type of situations, they're speaking, or their stories picked up by the news or the media, or they're giving a lecture or something like that and everything. And then you hear stuff where they get a letter, or someone, talks to them after they speak, or, maybe they meet them somewhere else, they bump into them at the mall, whatever it may be. And it's kind of like they remember that point that you actually brought up and how it touched their lives, how it made a difference. You hear about people having those type of situations. So a lot of times you don't know who you may be speaking to, but someone is out there listening to you. So
exactly. And that's the knowledge is power. But I think what's so powerful this year has been the whole Zoom and, like, what you and I are doing right now. Now, that's not to say that, like, before COVID, obviously there were podcasts, obviously there were vlogs, all these things were going on. People were having Zoom meetings, left and right. But ever since this pandemic, it's become so mainstream. It's just a part of, like, what you do. Oh, I got a meeting. Oh, I've got a webinar. Oh, I've got to do this lesson on online. And now it's just becoming, kind of like wearing a mask. Like, I'll tell you, when this is all over with, I'm still wearing a mask, not in every situation, but let's say when I go on a plane, let's say 5 years down the road, COVID's, long gone history. I'm going to wear a mask still, and, people are still going to be doing Zoom and everything, maybe not as much, but I think this whole online stuff has just exploded this year. You could tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've noticed. I was like, wow.
Well, I think it's funny you mentioned Zoom, because, like, I think it was last week, the week before, Zoom was doing well in the market as well with everything that's happened. Everything has changed what the new reality is going to be. So things are in person. Companies, for instance, like the company I work for, I was already working from home for the most part anyway. But when this happened, it sent everybody home. And we're not even targeting people getting back in the office until, like, maybe June of next year. And then it's going to be even limited to who gets back in there. Companies are finding out they can have employees work from home. And when some companies find out their employees work better when they're at home, they're more focused, they're more productive, they're not getting distracted as much. Well, not all of them. Some you have to have in there, because there are some you have to babysit. I mean, not everybody can be left on alone and they won't get anything done. But for most people that are able to handle that responsibility, it's a better thing. You're at the house, you're more able to be more flexible, flex time. I need to run my kid to the dentist, or I need to go to an appointment myself. You can easily get that stuff worked in. You're not going from the office to across town, blah, blah, blah. If it's in your local area, you're going 10 minutes to where your local spot is to get something done. So it all works out well. It comes to start to see some of that on the bottom line, where we're starting to save some dollars here and there as well. So why bring everybody back to the office, right?
Yeah.
And then at that same point, you got people there are people that definitely, I would say, want the physical contact, but there's also people that find out they don't need it as much. Like, if I can go maybe once a week or whatever, or, like, for me, I'm cool just staying at the house for the most part. I'm, like, comfortable. I grew up as only child, only grandchild, only great now. I'm always used to being by myself. Now, everybody's not like I am. Like my wife said, well, you're just different. You're just over there doing what you're doing. But people are learning to deal with this new world in different ways. And some people are actually working out well, where you're going to have this new thing where you're going to have more people in there. I know people that don't even watch TV. They just watch, like, YouTube, or they watch some of the streaming type services and stuff like that. So some people are digging more into where they watch other financial news or history stations or whatever it may be. People are finding their own other ways to become entertained or to increase their knowledge in things. So
totally.
It's just a whole new revamping of everything. So it'll be interesting going into next year where we're at on stuff as well.
Totally. I think, this kind of I don't want to say the death at all, but like what's happening now had to happen in a way. Like, you know, we all live our lives like doing the same thing every day, day in, day out. Go to the bar, go to your happy hour. You have your special seat at the bar, you know, and all of a sudden that's all taken away from you, and it's like, what do you do? Oh my God, how are you gonna go on? But you know what? You can go on. It's still okay, and that seat that you're used to will be waiting for you when the time comes. She'll be there, not going anywhere. So you know what, Rod? I have a beer that I would like to try and share with the audience as well. I think you're gonna like it. Could you give me like 20 seconds to grab it?
Oh, sure. Go ahead and grab that there.
All right, I'm gonna go on mute. You can see my my office. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let me see here. Get some of the comments here. Vanessa, definitely may be a pull my finger kind of year. Thinking about that. And Dante, I'm going to bring this up when Gloria came back, but yeah, it's really not that much work when you think about making beer. Oh, she was really quick. We'll let her get her headset back on.
So my husband. Oh, sorry, we're talking. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. No, you're fine. I said I was going to share this with you when you got back, but you said you were going to say, because Dante was saying he makes his own wine, but after listening, I always want to make his own beer now. Well, it's so much more work. But it really. I mean, depending on what you're brewing. Like I've homebrewed before. It depends on what you're actually trying to do and how much you're actually making. If you're making 5 gallons versus if you're making like a gallon or 2 gallons or something like that, it's a matter of time, really. That's the biggest component because you're really just moving one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And the big thing is really sanitation, making sure everything is cleaned, where you don't have anything getting into the beer, because that's what really wrecks the beer the worst. 95% of it's probably the sanitation and everything like that. But as far as the process, like what Gloria was saying earlier, it's kind of just to hang around time. They said they were playing games there, waiting for stuff to get done. It's just really that time where you have to be actively kind of paying attention to what's going on, but at the same time, it's doing its own thing there. Like I tell people, if you can boil water, you can make beer. It's just a matter of the time. And the worst thing is when you do get it to bottle, the time to wait to actually drink it. That's the part that really got me. You got to wait however many weeks, depending on what you're actually making. So patience is a virtue when it does come to beer making. And
it's worth it.
It is worth it.
It is worth it. And so I've got my next beer that is worth it.
Oh, the Christmas Ale. That is a good beer.
Great Lakes Christmas Ale. And I can maybe remember the spiel from when I used to work at Great Lakes. It's basically, from what I can remember, is 7.5 ABV. And it's made with honey. And I forgot the other spices, maybe a little bit of ginger, but don't quote me because it's been a while since I worked for Great Lakes. But it does pack a punch. It's got a really nice spicy flavor. What I do notice about the Christmas Ale from Great Lakes is it differs from year to year, just slightly. It's not a huge thing, but if you're a Christmas Ale drinker like I am, you can notice the difference in the years that you taste them. So this is my first one of 2020. So I'm going to try it now, and I'll let you know. Right. But I couldn't let the season go by without having this. It's blasphemous. So cheers, Rod. Cheers. We haven't done a cheers yet.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers to you. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This is like a brand new experience for me. Ooh, that's nice. Yeah. I'm
thinking with the Christmas Ale, I haven't had one in a couple of years, but I'm thinking it might have some coriander in there.
I'm reading the label right now, and it says Christmas Ale has fresh honey, cinnamon, and ginger.
Ginger, okay.
So no coriander, or maybe not listed, but it's delicious. Cheers, Vanessa. Yes, 'tis the season.
There you go.
And then we got New Year's after that, so watch out.
And then we got my friend Adam in here. Adam is actually Mercy Beers. He's actually over in the UK, so he's up late tonight to actually watch
Whoa,
us.
hey Adam. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Where in the UK?
I'll have to let him answer that there. Okay. I can't remember where he's actually there. One of our other friends, Craig, he's actually in Kent, I know. He's not too far from Craig, I don't think, though, because I know they all get together at times.
Nice.
Let me see here. Well, speaking of the Christmas ale, do you have any favorite holiday beers?
Well, this one is up there, definitely up there. I'm not a big fan of winter beers and Christmas beers and the spiced and the winter warmers. That actually is, even though it's not a style, it's more of a category. That's one of my least favorite. Like just like pumpkin in the fall. Like I don't like too many spices. Like I get it. Like, you know, some beers have the banana clove, like the Hefeweizens or the Belgian Wits, I mean. But yeah, I don't think I want to taste like cinnamon pie and pine needles and Santa Claus in my beer. Like I just don't, you know, like this is about as far as I'll take it. Like I like it. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, this is cinnamon, ginger, and honey. I can deal.
Right.
But there are just some other winter beers that have so much winter spices that to me it just doesn't become a beer anymore. To me, it becomes something else, and it's not anything I want to have, you know. And I do feel strongly about that. If you couldn't tell, but, yeah, like I don't want pumpkin pie in my beer. I'll drink.
So you're not a fan. You're not a fan of pumpkin beers, then? I'm
not a fan of pumpkin spice beers. Okay. Beers that are made with the actual pumpkin, you know, the actual thing. I like that. I actually had one. There was a brewery in Syracuse that is no longer. It was called Empire Brewing Company, and they made a great pumpkin beer. They used to take these pumpkins and roast them, and they just looked gorgeous, and it tasted wonderful. But you know, if there's a beer that's spiced with like nutmeg and cloves and all that, no, I'm not into that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I guess if you put too much in, you can almost add a little bit to the artificial. But see, the clove, I actually like just because my favorite style is probably Belgian ales. And Belgians, they use the cloves and stuff in there and coriander and a lot of their stuff. But I can understand that with the winter. I think it becomes that acquired taste type feel because you get too far out there. It's kind of like, okay, this isn't my thing. But it's funny you mentioned it because I was also like to ask the styles you didn't like or whatever. So I kind of got a couple there that you definitely weren't a big fan of. Which, like for me, like people that watch the shows and they know like shandies. I have no use for shandies. I cannot stand shandies. They're too sweet for the most part. Like the only time I've ever had a drain pour in any bar was like the Leinenkugel shandy. I just wanted the glass. Yeah. I tried to put the glass without the beer in it. And they said, no, we have to legally put the beer in the glass. And I said, well, can you put another beer in the glass and I'll buy that? And they're like, no, we have to put the Leinenkugel in there. I was like, all right, put it in there. I did like a quarter of it. I said, okay, you're going to pour it out now. And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm not a shandy person. I just wanted the glass. So it was like $3 or $4 for it, which was still a good deal for the glass or whatever. So it wasn't bad, but it was just like, if they just gave me the glass without the shandy, I would have took it and been good to go.
That must have been some glass.
It was a nice one. Behind me, you can't see too much there. If I switch to, let me see if I can switch to this other camera here. You try to get the multicams going. This one comes up. So over my back side there, over the back of the chair, those are all glasses on those different shelves there. So it's up there somewhere in that Leinenkugel, but there's like 4 or 5 shelves with glasses I have there. But I've developed an affinity for beer glasses over the years that, you know, some people collect, you know, I do collect the bottle caps at times as well, but some people collect different things around the beer, coasters, whatever, bottle openers, whatever it may be. I'm a big fan of some of the beer glassware they actually come out with glasses. So. Oh
yeah, they're definitely enticing. I was just noticing the one that I have. I don't know if you can see the print, but this is from Omegang. It's the Game of Thrones. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
It's the Game of Thrones glass, and it's got the brewery Omegang here. Cooperstown is about 2 to 2.5 hours from Syracuse, so it's a really nice trip to make to go out there. And every summer they used to have a festival called BCTC, Belgium Comes to Cooperstown. So it's basically a whole weekend festival. You have to pay to get in, but you camp. So you bring your tent, you bring your air mattress, you bring your grill or whatever, and you pitch your tent and all around the grounds of Omegang in Cooperstown. And you're there with tons of people, again, pre-COVID, and they have all these events, and they have a beer festival. So there's all these beers, and what makes it a Belgian beer festival is all the breweries that are represented there have to offer at least one Belgian style beer, but you're trying all different kinds of things. So it's just like a wonderful event. I hope they bring it back. They haven't had it in about 2 summers, I think. It's usually in August. And I would say to anybody, if they ever put it back on, BCTC, Belgium Comes to Cooperstown, it's an experience like no other. It really is wonderful.
Well, I have to definitely remember that. And with Belgian ales, it's probably good they do camp there, because if you have enough of them, you're not going to drive too far.
Oh, no. And you're in the middle of nowhere in Cooperstown. It's like, no. There's nowhere to go.
Yeah. And the Baseball Hall of Fame there, too.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
But yeah, I've got like 4 or 5 bottles of the different Game of Thrones ones I haven't cracked open yet down in the cellar. But it's funny, like the beer glass that you use, like, I put them up. I get them, but I never use them really. So I keep them on the shelf. I just get like a regular beer glass, like at the grocery store or wherever, one of the beer shops, and kind of drink out of those. Occasionally, I may use one of the ones there, but I kind of like them up there for show in the background type thing.
Yeah, they're cool things. I used to collect too, but I've moved twice, and so like, every time that I've moved, I've had to get rid of glassware. It's because, you accumulate tons of little ones from beer festivals. And then, you got your specialty glasses, or like if I go to Montreal or I go to some other city, I'll go to a brewery and I'll buy their glassware, so it's like, then you don't realize, it's like, wow, I've got so many glasses, like, but I like it. I do like collecting, but I did have to kind of pare it down,
Well, it's like some of the guys I know, they'll get like T-shirts, but it's like, I get glassware usually when I go to places. So
yeah.
But I've already got a shelf space up there for the most part. I started having to put them in other areas and everything. So
right.
So it's a rough life, what can I say?
Decisions.
But Vanessa says she can only do so many hobbies at a time. Making beer may come after the moonshine and cider learning. I found a full barrel at the farm. But keep in mind, Vanessa, which you don't know because you were the first time here, but Vanessa does a lot of different hobbies. Like she builds a lot of different things.
Oh, really?
She, wood burning stoves, and she's going to build a forge, and she does all these different things. She's creating leather holders for beers and stuff like that. And she's very active. So
that's great. Vanessa, I would love to follow you on Instagram if you have an Instagram account.
She's Vanessa M. Kitty on Instagram. So she always welcomes people to follow her there.
I will follow her.
But we always tease her, like, if things ever go bad, like, Walking Dead type bad, like everybody's supposed to meet up at Vanessa's house because she's already been ordained the leader to figure out what to do. So we all got to make it up to her. She's up in Connecticut. We all make it up to Connecticut.
Nice.
And then she'll go ahead and handle everything from there. We'll just follow her.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
There's a zombie apocalypse. I'm going to Vanessa.
We'll be at Vanessa's. It's kind of like, you ever watch that movie Shaun of the Dead?
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it's meet at the Winchester. Well, with us, it's meet at Vanessa's. So,
all right, duly noted.
That's an awesome movie. That's one of the funniest movies in a few years.
I love Simon Pegg. I just do.
Yeah,
I love that actor.
Him and the other guy, Nick. I can't remember his last name, but
I know who you're talking about. His sidekick. The sidekick. They're both equals, but yeah.
Yeah, like they did like Hot Fuzz and a couple other stuff, and I think they were getting back together to do one before the COVID thing happened.
Oh,
but
really?
Yeah, but they're pretty good at it together as a team and everything.
Really are.
Yeah. But I know Simon Pegg, he got hooked into doing a lot of the Mission Impossible stuff too, which he was actually good. Yeah, he's in that. Yeah. He's not as funny in that one because it's more of a
more serious
movie or whatever. But he still cracks like jokes in it, but it's not like the movies he usually does.
Right. And did you see him in Star Trek, the latest iteration?
I did. He was awesome.
He was Scotty.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, he makes a good Scotty. Mm-hmm. Let me see here. Yeah, we said Malta. He has said Montreal is the best city in the world.
And this is Swami. Is that Swami?
I have not been there. Yeah, Swami.
Well, Rod, I would highly suggest that you go there when the time is available for you to go. It really is a lovely city, and I'm not just saying that. It's like you cross the border from the States to Canada, and you know, sometimes, you know, it's not like obvious when you cross the border right away that you're in a totally different country. But then when you go in there and then you notice everything's in kilometers and everything's in French and English, and it's like, then you are like, oh no, really? I'm in a different country. This is wonderful. And I can drive there. You know, I imagine that's what it must be like for Europeans. They can just drive border to border to border to border, you know. We don't have that luxury, or we do, but only two countries.
Yeah. Well, actually, now I don't even know if we can get into Mexico or Canada.
I don't. Well, I know Canada's out.
I know Canada's not. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about Mexico. Although I did have a friend who went to Cancun, but who knows? Every day things change. So.
I've only been to Toronto, but I wouldn't mind seeing Montreal or Vancouver. Those like two of the spots.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Vancouver. I went to Halifax about 10 years ago. One of my friends who's Canadian is from there and got married, and I was my husband and I were invited to the wedding, and so we drove the 16-hour drive from Syracuse, New York, to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we had to stop in Portland. We had to stop in Maine in between, like 8 hours. And it was so worth the drive. Halifax is beautiful. And I just love Canadian beers. Like, I could do a whole segment on just talking about like beers in Canada that I love, you know, but I'm not going to go there. But if you want to know about Canadian beer, like, I can help you.
Sounds like another great blog piece.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny that, I think back when you say that, like back in like the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like high school, early college, it was like, you got a Canadian beer, you thought it was something special. Because, you know, you were kind of like, you weren't drinking the Buds, you weren't drinking the Millers, you like, you know, you got this Molson or you got whatever it is from up in Canada. Yeah. You were like, you're like, oh, we're living good tonight, fellas.
I'm international.
Somebody reaches for one of the cans, like, no, you brought the Milwaukee's best. Don't you take my Labatt's? That is not a fair trade.
No, not at all. Oh my goodness. Man.
Back in the day, there always be like one guy at the party that would bring the shit beer though too, and try to drink everybody else's.
Of course, you bring like the big box of 30, and then you go and look for the bottles.
Yeah,
exactly. I think we've all witnessed it or done it.
Did I see you bringing Red Dog? You ain't holding a Red Dog right now.
Oh my goodness, Red Dog! Holy, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we still get Red Dog here even, so we can still get it here in Kentucky in some spots. And
they still make it?
They still make it. I was surprised actually in the upper Midwest they can still get Schlitz, I saw. Which I thought Schlitz was going a while ago too, but they still make that as well.
I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Dante says,
what did you say?
Spanish with Gloria right now. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean
All right, here we go. So, Rod, ¿te gusta la cerveza?
I heard cerveza, so not as beer.
¿Te gusta? ¿Sí o no? ¿Te gusta la cerveza? ¿Sí? Okay.
¿Sí? Is that to have a beer? Because I know
do you like beer?
Yeah. Oh, sí.
Oh, sí.
Mucho.
Mucho, mucho. Yo también, me too.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's so funny when we went to Cancun. It was kind of like we were at the resort. And there were a couple of guys there, and I felt like I wanted to answer some in Spanish at some points, but then it's like I didn't want to be like that American trying to talk Spanish. Like they feel like they're being patronized or something like that too.
Right,
But it's like
right.
I was like, oh, I want to just, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Okay, but you know what? People like the effort. Even if you
Yeah,
totally botch the language,
yeah,
they really appreciate that you're trying, instead of, I think the stigma of being an American in general is when you go to another country, they just
mhm,
think you're a dumb American or ethnocentric American. But, you say something like my husband, when we went to Cancun, he'd be like, añejo con hielo, he'd be like, cerveza. And he'd be like, okay, that's all.
yeah.
And they have a smile on their face, and that's all they needed to hear, you know? However, when I go to Montreal, I'm going to say something Swami's not going to like. When I go to Montreal, granted, my French is not the greatest, but like I try, you know what I mean? Like I really genuinely try. There have been some instances where I say things in French, like to, let's say I'm at a clothing store or at a bar or whatever. I try to engage in French and they'll say to me in English, oh, I speak English too. Like, like you're not giving me a chance. Like, let me try. So I
Like, yourself. I'm here. I can do English. Yeah, I think it came. I did say at one point. I think I said "uno cerveza por favor" at one point, and I said some other stuff a couple times, but it was like little short phrases and stuff. But the guys were all cool down there in Cancun. It was kind of cool, and it was a fun time. I said, I would definitely go back. People up here, like the people will be like, they see stuff on the news, like, oh, Cancun, they're doing this and they're kidnapped. It's like, I mean, it's you go there, you doing what you're doing. Nobody worried about you or whatever. I think now if you go off to somewhere else, you probably shouldn't have went off to. Yeah, something happened, but that could happen in New Orleans. That can happen in Miami. That can happen. Like when I was in Miami, I used to go back and forth a few years ago back to Miami. And one time I was going to walk over to do something, and the people at the hotel were like, "Oh no, you don't want to walk down there because all this stuff kind of happens." It was by where the university is, University of Miami, where it was a little rougher area in Broward County, as you know. But I was like, those areas are everywhere. You go to LA, New Jersey. Like we were talking the other day about New Jersey, where I grew up at. Like Camden used to be the roughest city in the country. We used to go to Camden on Friday nights to watch the fights that would break out in the park as high school kids.
That's
so
crazy.
It's almost like you grew up with that mentality of head on a swivel. Like you're just paying attention to all your surroundings, and you'll be okay. So
exactly, you just got to keep your wits about you. In the 90s, I lived in DC in the 90s when the news was saying, I remember specifically because my mother was scared as hell. They were saying on the national news that Washington, DC was the murder capital of the country at that time. It was like 91, 92, whatever. And I decided I wanted to move to DC. And that's because I had a boyfriend in Maryland, but like I wanted to go to DC and I didn't care. And I started out living in like a couple of rough neighborhoods in Northwest DC. But you know what? It's all about keeping your wits. Like, don't wear flashy jewelry, don't make eye contact, like whatever. Like you just have to like adjust to your surroundings. And I think that's what a lot of people don't get. Like they'll wear cameras on their necks or loud like Hawaiian print shirts. It's like, all right, well then you're just asking for it.
Hey, come rob me.
That's not nice. I'm sorry, that wasn't nice of me.
But I know what you're saying. You're not prepared, for what you're actually going out and doing. It's kind of like, you don't walk out, in certain areas flashing a whole bunch of jewelry or like pulling up your wallet and so everybody can see all the bills you got in type of thing. It's the things that you learn growing up, I always thought, but I think there's some places where they don't learn that. So it's a little bit naivety involved.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to get like I don't want to say you have to have a bad experience, but sometimes that's what it takes for you to learn. Like my sister and I, we were robbed in Mexico City on the subway,
Mm.
And it was so slick. Whoever robbed us, like, was a professional. Like, we didn't even notice. We were just like, la 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 on the subway, and it's like, oh, you got a big slit in your purse. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it wakes you up a little bit. Like, okay, make sure you put your purse right in front of you and hold it for dear life. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, I know a lot of women when they go to New York, they put money in a certain spot, which I'm sure you're
Mhm.
aware of that because that's
Yeah.
they're afraid to put it in their wallets or their purse like that and everything. At least the cash dollars in case something would
Right.
happen.
Right.
So
New
yeah.
York doesn't scare me. I mean, part of
No,
it
New
is,
York's great to me. I mean, I know these
yeah.
guys in the comments talking about New York and they have different views. Some of them saying like Swami thought it was really dirty and
No.
New York saying that bad. I mean, there's parts around a lot of places are kind of that way. So
Yeah,
I
I think
think it's a fun city myself.
I love New York. I
Yeah.
loved living there when I was in grad school. I love Broadway. I love the fact that, like, one of the things about living in Miami
Mhm.
that I didn't like because I'm not from there is that I couldn't go anywhere easily without staying in the state. Florida's really long. So, like, from
Mhm.
Miami to Jacksonville is like 8
Oh,
or
that's
9 hours. So it's like, like being in Syracuse, I can go to Toronto, I can go to Montreal, I can go to Philly, I can go to New York,
mhm.
all under 5 hours. Oh, Montreal, sorry. All
Yeah.
under 5 hours, and I'm there. Like, it's so
Yeah.
easy to just get in the car, and, like, I've done this before where I said to my husband, like, all right, I'm going to Montreal. I'll be back in a few days. And I'd
Yeah.
just get in the car and I'd go and I'd hang out with my friends and come back. Like, that's really nice. Like, as much as I miss the Miami lifestyle, I think, there's something to be said about being a Northeast girl, that something was drawing me back to it. And yeah, I just embrace it, snow and all. Even though the snow stinks,
Yeah.
I just have my beer when it's, cold out.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, growing up 20 minutes outside Philly on the Jersey side is the same way with me. I can go to DC, I can go to Baltimore, I can go to New York, I can go to, Philly, Atlantic City, up to Boston, whatever you wanted to go in any direction. You were somewhere else that was a great little place to go
Yep.
to. Here, I'm in Cincinnati area. I mean, I can go 2 hours. It's like Indianapolis or it's Columbus or it's Louisville's like an hour and a half. But it's like they're not major metropolitan cities like in the Northeast.
Right.
You're not going to get as fun as you can have in Columbus, which they have some great breweries. It's
Yeah,
not
they
like
do.
it's not like you're in New York. It's not like you're in DC. It's not like you're in Baltimore.
Right.
It's just a different type feel to it. Still, I would just say like kind of a little bit more tamed in the Midwest than it is on the East Coast, where you have a little more fun. It can get a little crazy. You go to a certain bar, you're like, "What is going on in here? I don't know, but it's really fun right now, and let's get after it."
Oh, yeah,
You don't get those feelings when you go to some of these other spots as much. So unless they're kind of underground or something, but there's more opportunity to do that stuff on the East Coast than it is here.
On the East Coast, yeah. I mean, DC was like 6 hours away. Boston, being from Syracuse, I had never been to Boston until about 2 years ago. Don't ask me why or how, but I just never went. And then for work, a couple of years ago, I was working for a college, and I got to go to Boston a few times, and I was like, I like this too. This is a cool vibe. It's like I could like go here and spend some time and enjoy the beers, enjoy like the New England kind of vibe that is so unique to New England that even though I'm only a few hours away is definitely different. I miss traveling. I really miss traveling. That's been really hard during this time. Like, you can go buy beers from anywhere in the world. You can go to the store and buy something, but like, there's nothing like going to that place. There's nothing like going to that brewery in Boston or wherever. There's nothing like just sitting there and talking to the people that work there and seeing the tanks and everything going on and knowing that you're drinking like something that was made like recently, so I really miss that. I cannot wait until, we're able to do those kinds of things again. But until that time comes, I'm so happy to be doing this like web stuff too. It's like a whole new world. I love it.
We will find a way, right? But yeah, Boston is one of the cities I missed. I never went up to Boston, and I kind of regret not doing it when I had the opportunities earlier, being up in the East. And I'll probably get up there at some point. I'm probably going back to Jersey in the spring, and who knows, may drive up there for a couple of days while up there.
Right.
But you go to places. It's like I have friends that go to Maryland, and I'm like, I was like, you got to go down to like Annapolis. Like, I can tell you about Annapolis, but until you're at Annapolis and you're eating seafood there on the Chesapeake Bay, it's not going to do any service for me to tell you about it. I mean, it's just
you got to experience Annapolis.
Yeah,
great, love it.
So,
have you ever been to Ellicott City in Maryland?
I have not. I had a friend in college that was from there, but I've never been there.
Really? I went there one time when I was living in DC, and I don't know how it is today. This is like back in the 90s, but I swear to you, going to like Ellicott City was like going back in time, like kind of Back to the Future, where all of a sudden you're transported to the 50s.
Yeah.
I was just like, where am I and what time period am I in? It was so authentically 50s there. It was weird, but I loved it.
You walk through the time machine, like, what just happened?
Yeah, I was like looking for Michael J. Fox. So
yeah.
And Doc.
Right, Doc. Mercy is no dragon. Actually, I did have Dragon Stout when I was in Jamaica, but it was at the airport. They didn't have any at the hotel. So I did have that there, and I had one of the Guinness Foreign Extra Stouts when I was there as well.
I've had what's called Dragon, right? I've had that in Miami. I had a bottle of it. I don't remember much about it other than it was a stout, but yeah.
Yeah, it was like the in Jamaica, it's just like one of their beers they have there for stouts. But Mercy was saying, I think it was the same people that do Red Stripe may do that one, which is Red Stripe under AB and Bev as well?
I don't know. It's so
I thought one of the big boys had them now. Yeah. I think one of the big boys has them under them, but yeah.
I would think so. Something like Red Stripe. I mean, it's got like a lot of distribution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not sure though.
Let's see here.
What is Gloria's? Who's Jeremy? Hi, Jeremy. What is Gloria's favorite beer? Gosh, like I was saying earlier, that's
the question we always get. I have people ask me that all the time too, and it's like I don't know about you, but for me, I'm in the moment most of the time. So
I'm in the moment, but I'm trying to like play back the memory, the reel tapes in my head, and I'm trying to remember the time that I had a beer where I know one, Jeremy. Delicious. I don't know if they still make it. Funky Buddha in Florida.
Oh yeah, they still make that.
Well, the Last Snow. Have you had their Last Snow?
No, I haven't had that one.
I want to say it's a porter, but it might be a stout, but it's made with coconuts. It is the most delicious dark beer. And it's seasonal. It only comes out in the winter, but I think last year they didn't come out with it, or the year before. But if anybody knows about the Funky Buddha Last Snow, if you've had it, let me know what you think. It's just great. That is like a favorite.
Have you had the Oscar Blues Death by Coconut?
No, I haven't. How is that?
Let me put it this way. So I was never a coconut fan as a kid, like having candy with coconut or something, like cake, whatever.
Yeah.
Nah, get it out of here, I had Death by Coconut, and it was one of those, what the hell is this moment? Like, this goes against everything I thought. I mean, it's got coconut on the can. I don't like coconut usually, but yet I am digging this beer. It is one of the best coconut beers I've had.
I'm going to have some.
Yeah, Oscar Blues does Death by Coconut. They do a barrel-aged version as well. Yeah, it is one of the smoothest ones you can have. And that got me into more beers with coconut because of that.
I love beers with coconut. And I don't like coconut. I do not eat Almond Joys.
Yeah, well, I hated that as a kid.
I don't like any coconut.
Treat Almond Joy. Those were one of the first ones on the block getting traded.
Yeah, or those little chocolates that you see in the airport. The little chocolates that are filled with coconut shreds.
Yeah. One of the worst things is you get like Valentine candy for your girlfriend or your wife or that and everything. And like, come have a piece, right? And you bite into a piece of that coconut in it, and it's just like you just spit. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
because you have the mystery candies, and you're like, don't give me the one with the coconut, and you end up getting the one with the coconut. It's just like
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's why I always, when I get a box of chocolates, is I take a knife, a butter knife, and I cut them all in half so I can look at them before I try. Because coconut and me are not friends. We are
No.
just not friends.
But put it in the beer, you know. Yeah, he
I'll
come
drink
over.
it. Put it in a pina colada.
Yeah.
I'll drink a pina colada too.
I will drink that as well. Correct. Let me see here. Try to go down here.
Dante hates the coconut.
Let's be lovely video chats across the world helps others and myself. Yeah, a lot of people doing the video chats. It's a great way to connect people.
I'm really digging this vibe. I've been very camera shy in general. I have been a camera shy person most of my life, but I'll tell you something that happened to me 2 years ago, which was not pleasant. I was bartending at Lincoln's Beard Brewing Company in Miami, and one day I was home and I woke up and I had some coffee and it spilled all the way down my face.
Oh no.
And I was just like, okay, maybe I'm just like sleepy, maybe I'm just like, ugh, So I take another sip of coffee in bed and the coffee just spills all over me. So I look in the mirror and the right side of my face has totally drooped down. And immediately I knew that it was Bell's palsy. Like I just knew because I have a cousin who had it. And so to make a long story short, went to the doctor, got acupuncture and all this stuff. But it was really hard being a beer tender at a brewery because you're the face that people see with one half of your face like drooped all the way down. Like people would say to me like, oh, did you go to the dentist today? Because I thought I got Novocaine. I'm like, no. Some people looked at me and immediately were like, oh yeah, you got Bell's. So it's been a struggle. I think that's actually part of why I stopped writing. Not that writing is anything you see in my face, but I think that getting Bell's palsy can take you to a dark place. And it took me there, and I didn't want to write. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to hide. I didn't want anybody to see me. So that was a really tough time, especially in my career being so visible. That was really, really tough. So it just so happened that like we left Miami to move to Syracuse. So like, I didn't have to like quit my job at Lincoln's Beard because of Bell's palsy. I had to quit my job because I was moving to Syracuse. Right. But let me tell you, Rod, it's hard. It's not fun. It's hours of like doing facial exercises, and I had to learn how to use a straw again. I couldn't pronounce certain words with and people wouldn't understand me with certain words I would say. Eating, to this day, eating is not a struggle. It's not a struggle, but it's just like you have to retrain yourself to do things differently. Like I have to drink differently. I have to eat differently. So I think that was part of like the shyness, the past few years why I kind of dropped off a little bit. But then I was like, even though I'm better now, it's not completely gone, but I'm in a better space mentally. So it's like, okay, you can do this. Like, let's start a beer school. Let's start a beer education program. Let's get out there and talk to people, no matter what you look like, no matter what, and I think, we all have our own inner struggles and outer struggles. And, I think that's my whole point is sometimes it's like, you can't assume what somebody's going through, unless you talk to them or they share with you and that's why I try my best to be so nice to people in the service industry. And I am, because I understand, you're working, you're standing on your feet 8 hours and you're slinging beers,
Right.
You want to tip your servers and your bartenders really well, because they are busting their asses and they don't have health insurance the way other people do. So it's like, all right, it really, things like getting things like Bell's palsy, like I did, really, makes you reevaluate things. And it's like, no, you know what? I'm going to still stay in beer, but I gotta rework it. I gotta reconfigure it. And that's where I'm at right now, So yeah, just thought I'd share that.
No, I can imagine. It's definitely one of those things that becomes a humbling experience, right? So it's one of those things, but you're doing well. You're great. I'm glad you're here. I mean, you definitely, I don't think anybody watching would think anything different. I think everybody's loving you for what you're doing, and just keep doing it.
It's about just keep on keeping on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Again, thanks for sharing, because there's other people like, we talked, you talked here with Vanessa. Vanessa's went through a lot of health stuff in her life.
Right.
Her doctors didn't think she'd be at the point where she's at now, even. So.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Me sharing that, right. And me sharing that is not to share for like sympathy or a sob story. It's just to say that, like, no matter what life hands you, take the time you need to grieve it, to process it, to even feel sorry for yourself. Take whatever time you need to do that, as long as you know that that's temporary, and just get on with it. Like the whole Nike thing, just do it. That is such a great message. Just do it. So that's why I'm sharing it with you, because it's not really anything that I talk about or that I have written about. But that's actually a subject that I don't know about the beer industry, but like people who have disabilities, that's a whole other population of people who have their own discrimination. You know what I mean? They are dealing with all types of discrimination in the workplace and in social settings and everything. So it's like, you know what? Now's the time. If not now, when? Let's have a beer and just talk about things we might be a little uneasy about. Because we're all used to talking about getting drunk. We're all used to talking about, football and whatever. And that's great. I love all that. But you know what? Yeah. Once in a while, have a really high ABV beer and talk about the not so great stuff. And that's all right. It balances out. High ABV and not great stuff. There we go.
Yeah. Well, I would say that there's been a lot of world issues discussed over a beer.
Oh yeah. Everything comes out.
Things handled in the world over a beer. So yeah.
Totally. Hey, remember when Obama was drinking a beer? We've seen him all having beers in different situations. But I remember when Obama was drinking a beer with the African American university professor who was being I don't remember the whole story.
He was a police officer too. Yeah. He did a beer summit. Yeah.
Yeah, the beer summit. It's like, all right. That's all good stuff. Sometimes people have misperceptions about people, and all it takes is a beer and a conversation to just be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just easy lubricant to get the conversation moving for a lot of things.
About anything.
There was a piece on LinkedIn that we made mention of. Someone was saying when you run your virtual parties or whatever like that, or holiday, or whatever, like if you're doing that, or you're doing even like a meeting, if it's like something like a late meeting, let your people have a beer or something, as a chance to relax into the meeting, and just being able to have that can actually open up a whole different door that you weren't expecting, and people to be more relaxed and stuff too.
Right.
Funny, the job I work at, I work for a top financial group I mentioned kind of earlier, but they found out I did beer. Last year, they asked me and one of the other guys that brewed beer to do a beer taste in their office over like a lunch and learn meeting. And that was something we never thought would happen. And like, what are you talking about? Like, we want to come in and do a beer tasting and teach about beer and all kind of stuff. And I'm like during lunch? And they're like, yeah, like, because we're dealing with people on the phone. They're going to be talking to people and stuff like that and everything. And they got approval from the company to go ahead and do it. I think they were trying to raise employee morale. So they were trying different things. And so we got like little cups. So, I mean, you could have these little cups, a 1 ounce cup. Well, you could have like 12 of them to make a beer, depending on what's happening. But we had brought in different beers from the sample and everything like that. It had the biggest turnout they've ever had for one of the meetings. They asked us to do it again like 2 months later for people who didn't get a chance to go and to do it again. It was just like weird because here's a financial company where everything is pretty much straight laced. We're not to the point where we wear suits like every day, like a lot of financial companies do, but there's definitely a way you handle yourself. And we were able to do something like that. And it was just, it's just one of those things. Like, again, it's just one of those things you don't expect, but how beer can actually kind of be a great little thing to have there.
Beer is a great icebreaker, and I don't mean it in the sense that, oh yeah, let's get drunk. Of course, we all know that alcohol, our inhibitions go down with alcohol. We all know that, but there's something about beer in particular, as opposed to other spirits and wines that I think because it doesn't have a hoity-toity reputation. I think it's because beer is accessible to anybody from the light lager drinker to, the barley wine drinker. There's something for everybody. And it's just, the thing about beer is all I think about when I think about the simplest basic concept of what beer represents to me is it represents just like getting together. I mean, I've drank alone. I'm sure all of us have had beers all by ourselves, but there's something about, toasting with your friend, your partner, and just letting the day melt away. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the fact that you guys had it during lunch, I mean, why not? Why not have a beer during lunch? Plenty of countries, in the world, it's not as big of a deal as it is here in the States. But I think beer, you're not going to do an imperial IPA during your lunch, but maybe you'll have a session IPA. Why not? And Tremaine is saying beer is a sacred drink, Gloria. Thank you, Tremaine. It is. It's sacred. And you know what? You can have it any time of the day you want.
Well, it was kind of funny when we did it. We had one of our guys we had just hired on board. He actually works in the field, but he was in for training. So he came to the lunch to do everything with us. He was a fan of beer, and he was just like sampling all the different ones. He's like, so you guys do this like every week? And we're like, no, this is the first time ever. And he was just like, really? Like, they let you actually do it? He was like one of our external salespeople, so he was trying all the beers because, he's used to being out there socializing with a lot of the reps and stuff. But, it's one of those things, even in what I do, I work with a lot of financial advisors, kind of advising them on what to do with clients and stuff. And I talk about how I do the beer stuff on the side, and you hear a conversation switch sometimes, like, oh, really? So what's your favorite? Or what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or you need to come down here because we got blah, blah, blah. We get on a whole different tangent when it happens that even as the COVID starts to hopefully dissipate here in the next year, my one partner that I work with that's out in the field because I'm inside, he's like, I need to get you out here so we can do some beer training stuff with people because that's just a different way for us to give them kind of something as a value thing. We're going to get a brewery. I'll come down there. We do a beer tasting, going around different things like that, rather than us just talking directly business. Let's have a fun event type thing. So I'm like, yeah, let me know. I'll definitely come down and do something there. So
yeah,
beer is just a great socializer.
It's a great socializer. It's a great connector. I mean, I can't even tell you how many conversations I've had with strangers when I wasn't working, working for Great Lakes and the other breweries that I used to work for. Of course, you're going to connect with people. That's your job. You're talking to them about the beers and you're explaining, the different flavors and all that. But, the people that I've met in my travels when I was just hanging out, just talking beer, I couldn't even tell you how many people. It's just been so great that I honestly have to say beer has changed my life. And, people who don't understand may say, oh, she's an alcoholic, but that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
It really has changed my life.
Yeah.
The simple ingredients have really changed my life, but I had to be open to it. So, like the people who are listening and watching right now seem to be beer aficionados and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to also reach, with crafted minds. I want to reach those people who are tentative. I want to reach those people who are like, well, I only am used to drinking, Amstel Light, but I really want to learn more. Like, I want to get you out of your shell and have you join the party.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the fun way to do it. I mean, with the channel here, people ask me like that haven't watched or they kind of figure out what I do. I was like, basically, my goal is to educate and teach people about beer in a fun and entertaining way. So I do it on the YouTube channel. I do it through Twitter. I do it through Instagram. I do it. The funny thing is, like, people actually watch me. I can't believe it. So
awesome. I watch you.
Yeah, a lot of us will joke around sometimes. Like when we do other people's streams, like, "Oh, don't watch me. I'm awful." But you have success that actually arises. It's the Twitter. I think Twitter just went over 3,000 people like a couple of weeks ago. Instagram's over 2,000. I mean, there are numbers that are out there that people are clicking on, but at the same point, it's like, you're doing it, you're having fun. If something grows from it, it's fine. I mean, I get companies that reach out to me on stuff. That's fine as well. But it's kind of like I would still love doing this regardless. So everything else that happens after that is just basically sugar on top of everything. Or whipped cream on top. Sugar's in it, whipped cream's on top.
Sugar, whipped cream, cherry on top, whatever.
All I know is Wilford Brimley, diabetes. So but Vanessa said, like, virtual classrooms, I'll be able to teach from anywhere with my equipment. So yeah, we've been trying to get Vanessa to do actually a YouTube channel as well because her knowledge is great.
Yeah, I'm very interested in talking to Vanessa offline. This is great. Like this is the kind of conversations that we need to have. Like, there would have been, let's say 5 years ago, or no, not 5, let's say 10 years ago when I was a professor, if you told me that I would be immersed in the beer culture and I'd be starting a company about teaching beer, I wouldn't say we're crazy, but I would say, like, show me how, because I have no idea. But you know what? It's little by little. It's you learn and grow and learn and grow. Like, I had no knowledge of owning a business. I have zero knowledge about being a business owner, but you know what? I took classes. I put the money into it, which, was not like tons of money. It doesn't cost a lot to start your own business. That's like the great thing. Like, you could even be an LLC and have it be your own brand, and it costs only a few $100s. It's really not that hard. But like, part of me before was thinking, no, I can't do this. No, this is so hard. I don't understand. How do I do this? Oh my God. But it's like, all right, breathe.
Yeah.
Read, learn, and you'll get there. And so now I'm at the point where I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to teach. I'm ready to meet you. I'm ready to meet all of you and like show you a good time while you learn. That's all.
Yeah, if you don't try, you'll never know, right?
You'll never know. So I think what I'm going to do is like I'm doing the happy hour and that's free and everything. But like, I think I want to have some free like series of things like, meet the brewer of this place, or meet the, let's talk about this and let's talk about that. And like, just get a feel for my flow, just get a feel for like how I teach, because you know what, honestly, I mean, I've been a student and I've been a professor, and I don't know about you, but like, there have been teachers and professors I just couldn't stand. Like, even though they knew their shit, even
That's
though,
even though now,
I'm feeling the Christmas love, but like, what was I saying about knowing your shit? Like, thing about professors is like they've studied the stuff, they've researched the stuff, but that doesn't mean that they know how to teach the stuff.
Right.
You know
They don't know the sense of it, not the actual living of it sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I'd like to think that like I know the stuff, I live the stuff, I embrace it to teach, you know?
Yeah.
So, Vanessa, I agree. Some teachers should not be teachers. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So I hope that that's not your experience with me. And we'll see where this goes. We'll see where this journey takes me and all of us, all of you who want to follow me and take a class or just join a happy hour. That's all I ask for is just, hello, meet me. I want to meet you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good thing next week. And Blake said, I forgot if Blake said everything. That's one of my buddies out of Arkansas there. Great show. Hello as well.
Hey, Blake.
Early Christmas. Good guy. We have fun on his channel too. But Dee said, I don't know, Gloria. I love Mexico's coast. I hope to get to the Yucatan area next year. They have great golf. Dee loves to golf, so he's
okay.
Like you, right? I've had years in Spanish school, but I suck in speaking it. So he's the same way. Like we have the Spanish, but it's like you don't get a chance to use. He's actually down in North Carolina. So
all right, yeah. But am I thinking North Carolina or South Carolina? Call me ignorant, but I know one of the Carolinas. There's a large Mexican population that they work in the chicken processing. Like Tyson type of.
I wouldn't say that. I don't know if that's North or South. I want to feel like it's South Carolina, but North Carolina might have it too. I mean,
okay, because like for instance, in upstate New York, you find a lot of Mexicans here. Only they're seasonal workers because New York is the second largest producer of apples. So you get migrant workers coming here during apple picking season. And I could swear that one of the Carolinas also had a lot of Mexicans working in chicken factories and plants. But I don't know. Yeah, that's what I thought, but I'm not sure. So if anybody from the Carolinas knows.
I think Dee solved his problem. That's why you marry someone that speaks.
Oh, did Dee marry?
Yeah, his wife speaks.
A Latina?
Yeah. He is a translator, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Somebody said North Carolina because I worked at Tyson's in Monroe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I worked with a lot of them there. Okay, so that's R2D2 Sergeant Fuego. Thank you. Okay, I wasn't crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was the case.
Let me see here. I'm trying to scroll through to see some of the other.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay.
Oh, well, we talked about Adam earlier. He said he's based just outside of Liverpool, so about a 5-hour drive from Craig, who's in Kent.
Oh, Liverpool. Yeah. In Syracuse, we have a suburb called Liverpool. So I was like, is he from Syracuse?
Yeah. But the UK, unfortunately, they're kind of on a lockdown thing over there. You know?
Man, with all the mutations and stuff.
Yeah, like other countries aren't letting them in. It's kind of crazy.
I hope that this is the worst before it gets better. Instead of saying it's going to get worse, I hope that this is the worst and then it gets better. We'll see. We'll see. I've been very cautious about things. I haven't really seen. It's not that I haven't seen my mom, but like she always wears a mask. She's in her 70s. Like I want to see my family. I'm dying to see my family, but like at the same time, like I also need to be cautious. So like my husband and I are homebodies. He works from home. I work from home. We drink at home. It's like, what are you going to do? We don't socialize, but I think that's the case for lots of people is like, this is the socializing, right? The online stuff, the talking and the chatting, the chat lines, the comment lines. I'm kind of digging it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird feel for me because I work like in sales, so you're more of an extrovert right there and doing the stuff. But at the same point, I love being home. I love doing this for not having to run around everywhere, not dealing with traffic, not dealing with people that can't drive, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, am I extrovert living in an introvert world now? I'm kind of enjoying like this kind of stuff, and it's funny.
Nice.
It's kind of like I used to joke like a couple years ago. my friends on Facebook, I always put posts out there like, I just need to get a beer island, just an island, just beer, and away from everybody. And I have friends that would comment, well, can I come to the island? And what if I bring this or I bring that? I have friends, well, if I bring wine, can I get to the island type thing? And kind of like, I think people are now understanding that concept. Like, yeah, I kind of like being away from some of the people.
Yeah, definitely. There's something about that. You know what I mean? Like, there's times, it's not that I'm home all the time. I still have to get the groceries, or with the holidays, I've been mostly doing my holiday shopping online, but there have been some things that I've had to get at, brick and mortar places. And like, I keep my distance and everything, but like at the same time, it's like, I don't want to, nobody wants to get sick. You know what I mean? And like, I end up coming across as maybe like bitchy, but like I was at Kohl's a few weeks ago, and like Kohl's clearly has like these stickers on the floor that say, this is 6 feet, this is 6 feet, this is 6 feet, like wait here. So I'm standing there waiting to return something, and this woman gets like right like in my grill practically. I'm like, excuse me, like, do you see the sticker? And then she gives me attitude like I was the one who was wrong. And that's happened to me a few times. Like, oh, okay, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to follow the rules, Yeah. But yeah, it's just crazy. It's craziness. So like, I like staying home because it's safe, but I also miss I miss going to my corner bar down the street, honestly.
Sure.
I want to help them out. I want to support local. I want to give them all the money that I'm able to give, but it's not possible. It's just not. But I don't know about anybody else's community, but the Syracuse community has been really, really close and supportive when it comes to helping out other businesses. Syracuse is like the snowiest city in the country. And we're still doing outdoor dining and outdoor drinking at breweries. Like people have bought tents and heat lamps, and it's like 30 degrees out and you're freezing your ass off, but you're still going to spend that, $5 to $10 or whatever it is on buying a beer and then taking off with a crowler. Like, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. Well, at times like this, it falls to the community to try to help out. And we just saw this past week, I mentioned Three Floyds earlier. They closed their brew pub in Munster permanently, which is huge because that's 3 floors. Everybody knew that one, and people were kind of, upset to see that happen. But again, if they can't get the support they need to keep doors open, this is happening in different parts of the country. And some of your favorites could be lost in the mix. So and sometimes we forget, like I mentioned Jungle Gyms earlier. A lot of times I'll get stuff there, but there's also an effort I need to make more myself being better at of actually going to the breweries and getting stuff there, because that helps them more than me buying it through the retail outlet. So all that stuff comes into play too. But Doc, he said he's convinced he's going to try making beer.
Well, let's start from
the beer.
Yeah, well, the thing about making beer, from what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, is before you even make, you can make beer out of whatever containers you have at home, but like there's homebrew equipment. There are stores that are just homebrew stores that you could spend a couple of $100 on buying all the basics you need, or maybe let's say 100. Buying the basics you need to start brewing before you even buy the malt and the hops. Yeah,
a lot of people will get like and I started that way with the Mr. Beer kit, right? And there's actually brewers that I think one of the was a piece that was in a couple of years ago. Like, I don't know if it was Stone or whoever, one of the founders. They started out with the Mr. Beer kit, right? That's because some people kind of wonder, is that just novelty or kind of really? But you can really learn from that experience, and there's ways you can actually experiment with that, and that's like what, $40 or $50 or whatever to see if you want to go further, and then you step up to the next level of stuff as well. So that's a nice way to actually start there, and that's doing like extract brewing before because no one's going to start out and go right to all grain. That's going to you have to work your way up to that. but that's a good way to actually look at doing it that way. And, you can make some decent beers doing it out of that.
Yeah.
So,
I never thought about that.
yeah.
Like I remember like when I was living in Florida years ago, I bought my husband a Mr. Beer kit. And you know what? He did, or at least he thought he did everything that the instructions said, but I guess he didn't sanitize as good as he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then the beer was awful, and it's like, it kind of turned him off to doing home brewing, but that shouldn't be a deterrent. It's like, okay, well, that you learn something like, okay, this is really important. Cleaning and sanitation is super important. And people, when you're drinking a beer, you're not thinking about the ingredients and the sanitation and all the stuff that goes into that bottle or can. It's like, it's just fascinating to me, like how much time and thought goes into what I'm drinking, whether it's a small brewery like a local one in Syracuse, or it's something a bit or a lot bigger like Dogfish Head or Boss, Samuel Adams. They all take precautions and care into what they do, and that's what I appreciate about it. Brooklyn, come on, it's like, you're bigger than a lot of these smaller microbreweries, but you didn't forget your roots. You haven't forgotten how you started, and you care about the end product. And that, for me, at the end of the day, is like what's going to make me want to try your beer.
Yeah, that's what makes it happen there for sure.
Totally. Oh my goodness, beer. I love it. Can you tell?
Vanessa said she wants to make fruit brandies, which she said there, which Vanessa, if anybody can pull it off, I know you can. So.
All right, Vanessa, I'm going to Connecticut like as soon as I can.
Not to get political, but Swami, like we talk politics all the time and stuff, but he says just tweeted Congress to raise stimulus to $2,000 per couple and $1,200 per person. I agree with him, and it hurts. It's true. It does need to be higher.
It needs to be higher. The first round was $1,200. Remember?
Yeah, and supposedly he wanted $2,000 previously, and he was talked out about it by people in his administration. So, it's funny just because I'm not the biggest Trump person, of course, as from some of the stuff that's happened. But at the same point, there are some things that Trump has done as well. There was some different things done with some of the incarcerations of people that he actually acted upon. There was something like this that was happening. So it's like none of the politicians have ever been like 100% on anything. So you take it. But that is something that should be definitely higher, and that's what he wanted. And being in Kentucky, of course, Mitch McConnell's our senator. He kind of drug it all down. But I'm not going into politics right now. It's all about.
But you know what? There's something to be said about understanding our situation. Like, I'm not saying Trump understands it. I don't know what and I'm not getting into politics either. But I will say this: I don't know Trump's motivation behind saying we should get the 2,000 as opposed to the 600 per person. I don't know what his deep down motivation is for that. Maybe it's to get good with the common people. I don't know. But all I know is I agree, because I'm one of those common people and I would benefit from that. It's the goddamn truth.
Yeah. Well, he said 2,000. I mean, it wasn't like it's something new. He said 2,000 a few months back, I believe. Yeah. So it's not like it's something that came out of air, but
right.
It was Mitch that was kind of dragging a lot of that stuff down. And in fact, like I said, that's a whole different thing there.
Different conversation. But we'll see what happens with the stimulus. That's more beer in my beer fridge.
Yeah. And you're welcome, Vanessa. I always give you the plug, so definitely go.
I like you already.
Let me see here, and I can't get this one to come. It says, Vanessa, why not 2 per individual in every household? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of households that hurt, and even if they're a small business owner, maybe over that level, their margins are being squeezed, so they may need that 2,000 help them out as well. So I think it should, it's not. We got money we spend on a lot of shit we don't need to spend on, so I'd rather put it in the hands of the people.
Yeah, give it to the people who helped build the country, or at least their ancestors did. And even if their ancestors didn't and they're new immigrants and they're citizens or whatever, we all need help.
Yeah.
You know? We all need help.
Dante said there is no land crossing between Mexico and the U.S. right now where you can fly. So that was the question earlier. Like, can we even go to Mexico right now?
I would love to go to Mexico.
If you can get a ticket.
Yeah, right? No, you know what? As much as I'd love to go to Mexico and visit my family in Mexico City, everything is too up in the air right now. You know, with masks, who knows what kind of enforcement that city is doing right now, and I don't want to find out. So I'll stay home in Syracuse all winter and teach.
It's funny, Vanessa had a blast from the past. She said, Black Label, all my uncles drank that. That's an old school beer right there.
I don't even know.
Yeah, that's back when you had like the jingle commercials. Remember beers had jingle commercials, and you don't always see them singing on TV now, but that's like from back in those times.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Was it Billy D. Williams that did
he did Colt 45? Yeah.
I remember those commercials.
Yeah.
I remember those.
Lowenbrow was a big one. Lowenbrow was a big one back in the day.
Lowenbrow. When I was like really tiny, because I live close enough to Canada, the big thing was Old Vienna, the splits. Yeah. You know the Old Vienna splits? Yeah.
I just don't hear splits as much nowadays, but yeah.
Remember those beer balls? Were they Michelob? They were like.
We were talking about that the other night. We were trying to figure out. I think it was Coors that had one.
Really?
Like the silver ball with the little pony keg or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. Those were
like the early '80s, I think, maybe.
Yeah, that was like some of our high school parties. We had those at back in the day. Let's see here.
Budweiser frogs. I remember those.
Yeah.
I remember those.
There's a lot of comments in here.
Yeah, I know. I'm reading it.
Put it around and don't come from New York City is fabulous here. Dante said as well. My comment thing actually started getting tired. I think I was putting so many up there. I started like fading on it.
Okay.
StreamYard's had some issues recently though. Vanessa said she said her foreign extra stout is being replenished next week, so she has to keep it stocked. So there you go. See, it's coming in kind of slow on the thing there. It's doing that.
Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to give you a close up there.
No, that's all right.
I was just adjusting.
I'm ready for my close up.
Take it all in. Oh my goodness.
Gilbert said he can get the Dragon Stout from the beer down the street from where he's at. He's in Canada, and Dragon Stout was the one he had in Jamaica.
In Jamaica, yeah. I've had that once, like I said, in a bottle in Miami.
Yeah. Jeremy was in the house. Cheers, Jeremy. He said the Death by Coconut is great. Yeah, you definitely want to try the Death by Coconut.
I gotta have it. I'm pretty sure I can get that in Syracuse. So I'm gonna start, like, now that it's getting colder, I'm gonna definitely get into the warmer, warm alcohol beers, like the imperial stouts and the porters, and stay away. Stay away. I can never stay away from sours. I don't care what time of year it is.
Well, you can drink sours all year round for sure.
It's true. But it's nice when it's a really hot day and you're sitting on your porch and you're just like, so good.
See, I can drink stouts all year round. Like some people say, well, I can drink stouts. I drink big stouts all year.
Yeah.
But that said Mouse, LOL, rip off the almond and it says Mouse.
Funny.
Coconut macaroons, yeah. Let me see here. Dante said, "Oh my God, the coconut hate." LOL. I don't like coconut unless it's in beer. I mean, that's just me.
I'm the same. I pina coladas, beer, but like I can't do coconut desserts. No.
Yeah. See, Dee Dee was a big almond joy. So I take all your almond joys next Halloween.
Make them.
Jermaine's a big coconut fan too, so yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get my hands on some Last Snow from Funky Buddha. I gotta.
Well, yeah, Puerto Rico, I can kind of see that. Like Dante says, in Puerto Rico, we were all about the coconut there everywhere. Yeah, so it's kind of like you grow up on it. I guess
it's different.
You grow up on it. It's totally different there.
Yeah, it all depends on your cultural context for a lot of the flavors that you like get into with food and drink.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and there's some things that you learn as you get older. My mom pokes.
Yeah, you're talking about cutting the chocolates. Her mom pokes the chocolates in those large boxes.
Okay.
You pick up. You have the bottomless smudge to find out what was in it. But that's that moonshine and the coconut. That's a possibility. That would be different. I don't think I've ever seen coconut moonshine.
That I would drink that. I would totally drink that.
Yeah, like we were talking about Vanessa earlier. Let's see if this comes up here because they said StreamYard's getting weird on the comments, but
yeah, these are older.
$5,000+ a month to see the sunshine every day. Each day is precious. So, like I said, Vanessa is just a trooper. You know, she's been through a lot. She keeps focused. That's why I said, you know, you keep grinding. Yeah.
You got it. You know, like I said earlier, you got to keep on keeping on no matter what adversity comes your way. Like I still believe that it's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself for a moment and then reel yourself back in and be like, okay, I got that out of the way. What can I accomplish today? And, you know, let me enjoy the sun or my couch or my dog or whatever.
Yeah. Tremaine says, "Hello, Gloria, amen to high ABV."
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And Vanessa's right there too. Vanessa said, "Come on, StreamYard. Many mathematics results from good convos over beer." Yeah.
Yep. Lots of great ideas have been passed around, for sure.
Yeah. Beer has, like I said, beer's done a lot over time. I mean, there's a reason that 5,000 BCs where they kind of estimated, and the first time may have been a mistake, but after it was found, it's just been through ages.
Otherwise, so many people would have gotten sick or died by drinking contaminated water back in the day.
Yeah, back then, where beer was better than beer. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Beer is way more inclusive, but so is rum in the Caribbean. Yeah, rum in the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, you can have a conversation over a beer, do some stuff, but it's like if you're trying to have a conversation over whiskey or vodka, after like a point or two, it's like the conversation switches, you know, it gets kind of crazy with tequila, whatever it may be. It's like beer is a nice one you kind of build your way. And again, you're usually talking about the beers being, you know, your regular 5, maybe 5.5%, something like that, or even lighter beer than that. You start having them with the Imperials, things can go crazy too.
Oh, yeah. And they're done that.
Somebody puts on a bottle of Utopia, you're probably not going to be as productive.
Ooh. Oh, no. You got to prepare yourself mentally for that.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to round out the evening with, I got this Godiva chocolate master.
Oh, look at that.
Dark chocolate with ganache heart.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Too bad I don't have a porter or stout, but it's okay.
It'll still work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever messed up any of your beers with desserts?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a beer and chocolate pairing in Miami at a place called Box Elder. And whoever came up with it just totally matched the different chocolates so perfectly with the beers.
Mm-hmm.
It was delicious. So yeah, I love matching like food flavors with beers. I don't know much about it. I'm still learning, but
yeah.
Oh, and let me just say one thing before I forget, because this is something that's really important that I used to say when I was a professor at universities, the very first day, you know, we do the introductions and all that. But what I always said about Spanish was, listen, I'm here to teach you. However, I don't know everything about the Spanish language. So if you have a question that I don't know and I can't answer, I'm going to find it for you. So I say the same thing when it comes to beer. I am in no way saying I am the top level expert in beer. I just got my certified beer server certificate. I'm going to learn to be a certified Cicerone. I want to teach you what I know, and I want my love of beer to kind of be infectious. But if there's something that you ask me and I don't know offhand, I'll get you the answer, trust me, but I do not claim to know everything. You know, I'm not a master cicerone, and I'm learning like you are, but you know what? I want to teach you what I know, and hopefully that'll be worth something.
Yeah, that's what it's all about with everything. And it's funny sometimes when we train like new salespeople and stuff, we tell like, you're not going to know the answer to everything, and that's fine.
No.
You can tell someone you don't know, but I would get right back with you, and then you come find one of us that can give you an answer.
Exactly. I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
Yeah. Which, as you build up, if there's questions, you know, I'll say that now. If you have questions that you have, if you want to go the YouTube route, or you have questions on building the Twitter following or the Instagram following or whatever, you know, feel free to reach out to me there as well, and I can.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Stuff that I've done over the time to build up stuff there too. So
yeah, definitely, I will get in touch with you about those things.
Yeah. But
so on that note, I think I'm gonna say buenas noches. You know what buenas noches is?
Good night.
That
one, yeah.
Yeah, you know Spanish, Espanol.
Well, you know, we were talking about Mexico before you go. We got Rick in the house, barbecue spouse. He's actually in Mexico. So he stopped in before cleaning up the food and time. Merry Christmas, my friend. Great show. Great food on his channel as well. Yeah, he's awesome. So, so we'll go ahead. Like I said, I told you earlier, things roll here. You lose track of time, right? I told you. You're like, hell.
No, I love this. I love it. Yeah. I love it. I want to come back.
Anytime. We'll set up something. I'm sure people would love to have you back here as well. We'll get you back on to the show here. But before we go ahead and shut down, anything else you want to share about what you're doing? Reminder, the happy hour next week.
Yes.
We got the information down below for the website, so people can go there and see that. You're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, so people can reach out to you and follow you there. So whatever you want to say, we'll make that the final remarks.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel great. I feel like I've said more than I thought I was going to say, and that's great. You know, this Rod, let me just say thank you, because there's something about you and your energy and your conversation style that makes it so easy to just want to like have a conversation and keep talking about anything under the sun, not even beer. So thank you for that. And I think whoever watches this and whoever is watching at the moment live, they already know this. That's why they check in with you every week. So thank you so much, Rod. I'm so glad that you reached out to me and that I've met you. So having said all that, I mean, it's really easy to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Crafted Minds LLC. So don't forget the LLC part. I'm on Facebook. I'm actually on LinkedIn as well. Crafted Minds does have its own page on LinkedIn. I will start teaching in February, and I'm rolling the details out within a week. It's the holidays, so it's been a little bit rough, but I will within a week. Before the happy hour on the 29th, you will know what you're going to get in my first 6-week course. So my happy hour is going to be next Tuesday, the 29th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be via Zoom, so I'll put the links out on my website and on Facebook and on Twitter and all that good stuff. And I'd love for you to join me. Even if you don't want to take a class or you don't think you need to take a class or whatever, grab a beer. I don't even care if it's wine or a seltzer. Grab whatever and just join me in between Christmas and New Year's. It's crazy time. Let's just take an hour or so to just like hang out, talk beer, and learn a little bit about what it is I'm going to be doing. That's it. So please, it's been so nice meeting all of you, whoever, all these people like Vanessa and Dante, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, it was great having you here. So, like Office Space all on this side of the table. You know, it was all over here. So it was great having you. It was my honor to have you on here. Definitely anytime, you know, we'll set something up to get you back as well. Love coming in, do some different things on those lines. Maybe we'll do some shows on some different topics we can share with everyone. Vanessa was already saying, great show. Please come back.
Thank you, Vanessa. I will.
Dante, yes, more Gloria. So definitely loved having you on here. Dean says, thanks for being a guest on the show. So
thank you, everybody, for listening to my story. Maybe I gave a little TMI, but you know what? That's how comfortable I feel. That's how comfortable Rod makes me feel. So thank you for letting me share some of my personal stuff as well as the beer stuff.
It was awesome having you do so. And that's what it's all about. I mean, I kind of, you know, like to have a comfortable environment. Like I told you before, kind of like a coffee talk, except we're doing it with beer. Yeah. And just kick back and just have a conversation and share some good stuff. And all the people that watch, I love my audience, the people that watch and all the involvement there. I couldn't get everybody's comments. I mentioned earlier when I do these kind of shows, I try to keep all the focus with the guests that I have on and allow you guys to ask questions. I try to catch as much as I can. But if you don't have Gloria, you can reach out to her. You can follow her on Instagram. I know her and Vanessa will connect on Instagram, I'm sure. Everybody else I want to connect with her, down the bottom, we have everything Crafted Minds, LLC. Reach out, touch base. Next Tuesday night, happy hour. I think it was,
6:30.
6:30.
Eastern.
So Crafted Minds, LLC. You can check that out there. But definitely going to look to try to get over there myself and everything and show some love, show some support. That being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this baby up. Thanks for you guys hanging out with us here on this Tuesday evening. We went longer than expected, but you guys know how it is on this show.
I love it.
I should just be a 3-hour podcast most of the time. Hello. And commercial free. You don't get that on TV. That's all commercial free, people. Thanks again, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Keep drinking those good craft beers, and you remember, there's always time. Get your beer on.